I would like to begin the episode by thanking Mikko Holopainen, Eldon Hill, Aoi Akuma no Me, Ben Gluckman, and Joseph Chapman. All these people kindly went to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, and you might have done this, or you might be considering doing that. It is a way for you to support this show and other shows on the network and get cool stuff in return. Thank you to all those people and everybody who has been so generous.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And I'm Doug Lief.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about Batman Arkham City, which is an open-world action game developed by Rocksteady Studios and published by Warner Brothers for last-gen systems in 2011. And as you heard, we are joined by a guest. Thank you for joining us, Doug.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Doug is a supporter. Doug is a patron. And Doug actually, so everyone who's like, man, you guys should do Arkham City, you have Doug do think.
Yes.
This was Doug's pick. So yeah, Doug, why Arkham City? Other than just that it's good.
Yeah.
Like we'll talk about that. It is a good game. But,
yeah, I had a couple of criterion when it came to picking a game. It had to be a game that, besides loving it and being great, it had to be a game that I was willing to go through yet another replay of, and B, one that I'd be able to talk about cogently if I didn't make it all the way through a replay.
Yeah.
Just because as we talked about off air, I just had a baby and I knew that was coming. So I thought, well, I better be able to say something about this game if my game time drops to zero, which it mostly has since he was. So, but it is
the ultimate game.
It's a wonderful game. And I've been with my older kid. I've been watching a lot of Batman, the animated series lately. So I've had bats on the brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's my relationship with Batman as well, where I like go through long periods of time where I'm like, me and Batman, we don't even talk anymore. And then I'll just be like, oh, yeah, Batman.
You'll be going through some belongings, and you'll find an old photo.
An old batarang.
You find an old batarang, and you think, man, I hope his number still works.
I hope he's still okay. And then I drunk dial him. And like, you got a butt that won't quit. Batman, riddle me this. What have you done with my heart? I will go through, and then I'll go through like a Batman phase. Like I rewatched all the Christopher Nolan movies like a few months ago because I was just feeling some Batman. And I was very happy to revisit this, which is my favorite Batman game.
Yeah, it is incredibly good. In fact, I would say it is the best superhero game outside of Marvel Spider-Man for PS4.
And I almost picked that one too, but I thought it's too recent, so I'll go back to Batman Arkham City.
Yeah.
Someone else had asked to sponsor the Spider-Man game, and me and Jeremy did that very long podcast on it. So it's not that we couldn't do it with Cole, but it's just kind of, hard to. I don't know if I'd have new things to say about it.
It's not fun to do. It's not fun to pod again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, it would be a little bit more in detailed, but me and Jeremy covered most of the bases. So if you want a like weird backdoor. A real weird backdoor pilot for when Cole dies, and I have to carry on the show with Jeremy
for when Cole dies through mysterious scalding from head to toe. Yeah.
When a mysterious former lover, whose name rhymes with rat ran, take out the. No, I don't want to have Cole killed by Batman.
You wouldn't
do it. This is one rule.
Against his code. His one, the Cole code. His one code is not to kill Cole. Like, Yeah, Batman would never kill. No, Batman wouldn't kill anybody on this podcast, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, we don't do crimes. If I do crimes, they're low-level crimes.
Yeah.
And I'm actually an attorney in real life, so crimes would get me in a whole lot of extra trouble.
Yeah.
You could be Batmaned by the system.
I can be that's about it.
Yeah. The Batman wouldn't kill us, but he would give us a sickening, like, back-breaking punch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he comes awful close. Like, I won't kill you, but I might give you a concussion that will ruin the rest of your life.
Yeah, most of your functions were going to be fulfilled by bags and tubes.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of these people bleed out.
Yeah.
So this game is a direct sequel to Arkham Asylum, which we covered a couple years back. And the events of that game, took place in a prison and asylum in ruins. Since that game happened, since when they put together an asylum, Jokers are about. The city kind of came up with this plan, and not just the city. There's intrigue to this as well, which we'll discuss. Which cordoned off a section of the city's slums and converted it into a prison. Think Escape from New York.
Yes.
And things go very, very wrong. Of course they do.
Yeah.
Like, you can't have Crime City.
There are jokers about.
Yeah, there's still jokers about, folks.
And again, just jumping in here as an attorney, my actual job is to represent municipalities. And this thing is it's a bar exam worth of problems to actually create something like this. We don't need to go into it, but just watching. This is the first time I've come back to the game, and actually that kind of occurred to me, like, oh, the eminent domain problems alone would be staggering.
That's a DLC.
Red Tape Adventures.
There's a lot of papers, please, too. Arkham City, eminent domain. Eminent domain sounds like a lot of action to it, even though I know it's just like laws. But eminent domain sounds like a magic card.
Yeah. So this isn't just a direct sequel, in story. The events follow. It's a direct sequel mechanically. It takes a lot of the mechanics of Arkham Asylum, one might even say all of them, and either reuses them or expands upon them or refines them. So because we talked about Arkham Asylum a couple of years ago, we're not going to go super into detail on that. This episode is mostly going to focus on what is different, at least in the generalities part.
Mm-hmm. So this will make a companion with the Arkham Asylum episode. You should check that out as well if you haven't.
Yes.
So kind of just the basics. This is a third-person game where you explore with kind of very light Metroidvania elements, less so than the previous game.
Right.
Where through kind of getting evolving gear and skill trees and such, you are able to access different portions of the world. Mm-hmm. The free-flow combat system comes back, and there is, I would say, kind of a greater emphasis and a little bit more freedom in terms of predator sections or stealth sections.
Yeah. Free flow is the combat system that I think has had the biggest influence outside of this series. And it kind of reaches a height here just because of the ways that they improve the animation and improve how fluid things can be. It's hard to point to like one marquee thing that shows how they improved it. Example, like you can counter multiple blows at the same time. In order to kind of make the system fit together better, the number of individual combat animations is double here compared to what it was in Arkham Asylum. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for people who don't know at all, just in like real basics, we're not going to go into the detail about it, but this is that combat system you may have seen in like Middle-earth, those Middle-earth games, where it is just kind of you will tap an attack button. You're not supposed to button match, but you can. And your little Batman on the screen will just kind of figure out who to punch next.
Yeah. And
this is interspersed with counters. Mm-hmm. And then there's a timing to all those things, perfect hits and perfect counters that allow you to build up a combo meter that unlocks different moves. And that's kind of the basics.
Right. And things speed up as your combo meter gets higher.
And this is something you will be spending a lot of time doing in this game. Mm-hmm. More so than I remembered. Of this, like it's funny, like playing this again. Like I still I loved it. Like this is still my favorite Batman game. There's a lot of missions that are like you go to a place to do a doodad, and there just happen to be some roustabouts criming around.
Were you about to say crime men?
Crime men roustabouting around, doing some crimes, just hanging around there, and you just have to like I have to put 4 people in traction before I can touch this doodad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there is this like there's like a modular sense to this game. It is less modular than Arkham Asylum, though.
Yeah,
like there are more things where it's just like fight and then you can do the thing. It's a little bit more free than that, but it's still fairly like constrained in that way, which is interesting. It's one of those things like we were talking a little bit in the green room about Arkham Knight, which is a game I don't like very much, but I do think that it does kind of a better job by, I mean, it's lots of like getting the data and doing the uplinks, but there's a little bit more freedom when they add the Batmobile. At least there's this kind of like fourth mode to what you're doing.
The one thing I noticed that does kind of change about that, though, is that because you have this open world structure, you do have a little more freedom in terms of the way you approach various situations and take guys out. And if you get into trouble, you can kind of get away and regroup and then try again. As opposed to Arkham Asylum, when you would be you're locked in this corridor with 12 guys and you have to just take them out in a melee.
Yeah, the open world aspect of this does huge favors for the Predator system, I believe. Because
I was just about to bring that up, yeah.
Yeah, because if it was just, hey, you're in another kind of, vaguely rectangular arena with gargoyles around, to jump around and such, it would feel very samey. Here, though, when you have people kind of talking, usually saying the B word about Catwoman, out in the city, you can kind of pick your approach. And because the Predator gameplay is all about like singling people out and figuring out how to get the first mover advantage, that kind of openness and especially the height differentials give you a lot of really interesting ways to approach these situations.
Almost any combat encounter you can treat as a Predator section. Right. Every Predator section you cannot, it's like squares and rectangles. Like every Predator section can't just be a combat brawl because they introduce stakes and hostages and stuff. But every regular combat section, you can at least get you'll at least get the upper hand and kind of an alpha strike on it. And then move into a regular combat thing. So that's one of the huge advantages of this as an open world. Agreed. You also get some kind of new and improved gadgets. We're going to talk about those as they get introduced. But in kind of like broad terms, there are more of them than the previous game. There are a lot of them. And you have this like really ridiculous kind of little select wheel by the end using the D-pad. That is just you carrying a lot of things on that belt.
I'm of two minds about this, actually, because I love having a lot of options, it gives you options for expression, right? Like in the play, especially with the quick fire gadget system, like, it's good. It gives you lots of variables to mess around with. However, I think there are so many gadgets at points I forget that I have stuff that would be really useful in a given situation.
And there were quite a few that I just hardly ever touched at all.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't use the electro gun very much.
Right.
I agree. I think that the one thing about that, though, is that when a new one would get introduced and I would find a utility I liked, I would kind of use it for a while and then swap over to something different. Yeah. Like once it was introduced. So that kind of had this feeling a little bit of like getting a new gun in a shooter game, like just having a new kind of toy to play with until something new came along. Yeah. It wasn't about necessarily mixing up my old ones. The game incentivizes that. You get more experience points. You get experience point bonus for like using a lot of different gadgets. But the game also has what I consider to be like a really, really smart tutorial system.
Yes.
And it is, tutorial might be even like a weak word for what it does. If there's like a boss where there's a gimmick that's like one of your gadgets, I think it knows that it has so many gadgets that it's just going to remind you.
Yeah.
It's just going to say, hey, here's the quick fire for the thing you need to do for this boss fight. And ordinarily I would rankle about that just because it seems like you should leave that as a puzzle for the player to solve. However, like I have so many things that are just, I have my grappling hook, but I also have my line launcher. I have a lot of things that have duplicate function, and it is a little bit arbitrary which one will work on which enemy. You'll fight a new boss, and it'll be like, oh, this guy's susceptible to the electroshock, but not to the freeze grenade. And it's like, well, okay, just tell me which one it is. Yeah. It's not going to change what I'm doing in my hands that much. And it's not really a puzzle when you have multiple keys that will unlock it like that.
Yeah.
Or it would be a puzzle, but they don't want to do those kind of like have the animations for both things like that.
Ultimately, oops, all gadgets is not necessarily that devastating of a criticism, but it is something that I ran into where it felt like a problem of discoverability or like interface or experience design more than anything. But they do, if something is crucial or imperative, they will call your attention to it. Like even down to like if you're walking around like a dummy and you can't find a way forward, Batman will just say, I should probably use my line launcher to get, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, just his internal monologue, saying what he should probably do.
Yeah.
One of the big criticisms of Arkham Asylum is that you play the entire thing in skeleton mode using detective vision. That has been changed a little bit. It's not useful or it's not advantageous to use this in combat. It makes the world geography or geometry look hard to kind of see, and it makes combat not look it makes it harder to follow, blurs it. Yeah. So you don't want to spend the entire game in skeleton mode, which is great for immersion.
Yeah.
Because that's silly. Even though they do some cool Easter eggs in skeleton mode, and skeleton mode is still very useful.
Yes.
I still found myself using it a lot in combat mode anyway, just because it would tell me who has a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you've got a huge crowd around you, and the enemies like those encounters are dynamic. Like they will go and grab stuff, or like when you disarm somebody else will pick that gun up. It's actually really ingenious. So yeah, I would find myself popping it on in combat, but mostly for just a situational check-in more than anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I love all the different ways they do to signal that stuff other than just detective mode. Like enemies have dishonored levels of wind up to fire a gun.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're tamping down. They've got a rod and they're tamping down the flintlock pistol. Like they just stand there and make a really loud cocking sound. Take a really long time to aim. Like the game is not going to get the drop on you with a gun. Yeah, which I really like. But you can also check and get the drop on them if you do what Doug was talking about and get the skeleton mode for a moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the headline feature. We've alluded to this a couple of times, but Arkham City is an open world game in a way that you would recognize. Asylum had pretty strict control over where you could go. You would be locked into particular rooms.
So many hallways.
Yeah, so many hallways, so many vents disguising loading screens and things like that. Here, you're in a section of Gotham, like you're on city streets getting around.
A big section.
Yes.
Which does wonderful things like for most aspects of the game, right? Mm-hmm. So like we talked about the combat bit, like being able to approach situations like you don't just like sometimes they do that when you're in the dungeons in this game. You'll walk into a room and the enemies are already aggroed, and it's like time for a fight. But usually when you're on the world, and oftentimes even when you're inside these indoor locations, which are also bigger than they were in Arkham Asylum, you have a freedom to choose your approach. Another thing is just it looks better. Mm-hmm. Like this is something that was a problem I had with Night, where they got to the PS4 clutter generation as far as the streets just being absolutely full of trash. I think that the streets and the areas in this look great. Mm-hmm. Like this looks so lived in and filthy and very, very like Gotham City to me. Yeah. Like the way I imagine Gotham City. Escape from New York is actually a really good comparison that you made at the start there. Like this is Gotham City's bones, but the flesh has just been ravaged by the lawlessness of this prison town
and the ocean to some degree.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And just tons of Easter eggs, like the posters and flyers and stuff on the wall. Like if you want to spend some time on the street looking at the kind of the details of these levels, like they look good. Mm-hmm. And that's something too that this benefits as being an open world, just because in an asylum, like that's a good creepy location. But when they, the whole thing about sitting an entire game there, we praised that game when an inmate had made a section of the asylum their own and kind of changed how it seemed a little bit. Here, there's tons of that. Yeah, like you can go into a whole building and it's like, oh, okay, this is Poison Ivy's building, and like she's made this into her own thing. This is the Mad Hatter's like little nest. He's made and he's redecorated it to look like this. Like you actually get a little bit of that level reflecting a character stuff that we love so much. That is like a FromSoft thing. Yeah. You get a little bit of that, and it makes sense because this is another thing that tying this in. I'm sure you have this as a later point, but just to make a segue. And good segues are when you say they're segues, right?
Yeah,
so you can tell they're happening. Well, the open world allows them to cram a lot more characters in this, and having Batman, who arguably has the best rogues gallery in comics, perhaps only rivaled by Spider-Man, is really, really wonderful. Like that's why you can have like a Poison Ivy zone, a Two-Face zone, a Joker zone, a Mad Hatter zone, a Mr. Freeze zone. Yeah. And you can get all these big personalities to express themselves.
Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, you can almost feel that there was like a little disappointment with Arkham Asylum, with people going like, "Oh, this is cool, but I wish this villain was there." And they're like, "Okay, well, how about if we gave you all of them?"
Yeah. Exactly.
They're all here somewhere. You will run into them. The other thing that's kind of cool about this open world that's interesting is it's kind of rare from what I've seen in open world games that it's very small as an open world. Like it's smaller than I think like Liberty City would be from GTA 3. You can zip from one side of it to the other in this U shape in about 3 minutes. But what it lacks in size, it makes up for in verticality and density in a really interesting way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it's at Batman scale, whereas like Arkham Knight feels like it's at Batmobile scale, right?
Yes. Yeah, and Arkham Asylum is at Batmite's scale.
Is at the scale of an actual bat. The flying rodent.
It's the little interdimensional idiot that hangs out with Batman sometimes. Tries to trick him into saying his name backwards or some horseshit. Some Batmite. Yeah.
But yeah, so having all of those villains there, it really benefits the open world aspect of this because there are like turf wars and things, and it actually it highlights and it leans into something that I really love about Batman's Rogues Gallery, which is the villains are aware of each other.
Yeah.
And they have relationships and they make schemes and they're double crosses. And Batman isn't so much the fulcrum between them. Like they just have they would destroy each other on their own, right?
You can tell that if you had never been interjected into this situation, that there was some kind of plot moving forward between all of these different players, that you just stumble into already.
Yeah, that makes you feel very alive. And how good is it that the majority of the dialogue you get from this are from like henchmen? So that's where those relationships come across. Like it is this weird like crim on the street perspective that you're mostly getting in this game. And they do that really, they did this in Asylum too, if I recall, but having him, instead of having ambient music when you're flying around, having ambient dialogue of you tuning in on your little watchdog style police scanner onto everybody is just really smart. Some of these are, I'm not going to say any of these are funny, and a bunch of them are vaguely problematic. Like we alluded to everyone calling Catwoman, a bitch earlier. So some of these are not great, but there's a lot of character to them. And they really highlight that bit you're talking about them having relationships. Like there's a lot of like, oh man, I heard Mr. Freeze was working with the Joker. I don't think he is anymore. Like, what do we do? Like they're just like kind of stuck between this as well. The crims, which makes it the more you think about Batman, the worse he is, which is one of those things about Batman.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, oh yeah, he definitely does take, criminal people in the justice system and beat the shit out of them. Who are already imprisoned on the reg.
And then the big turn of this game has you saving all their lives.
Yeah, because from somebody who wants to kill them rather than just put them in the hospital, which is what you want to do. Yeah. Like criminals cannot be doing anything. They can just be standing around and Batman just comes and just cracks all their spines. And it's just an unequivocally good act. Like you just get some experience for killing, hurting these prisoners quite a bit.
Yeah. For altering the course of their lives.
Their skeletons.
Yeah. Okay. Altering their skeletons.
The course of their skulls. But just getting their perspective through this is really great as far as knowing the relationships between those villains.
Yeah, and I'm always going to be down for henchman work conditions being presented in sci-fi media like this. Yeah,
it's almost an Austin Powers kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh sure, yeah. Or it also comes up in Venture Brothers, right? The another thing that open world game does is give you this really fun traversal.
Oh yeah.
This game, previous, I think, to Spider-Man was my favorite way to get around in like a superhero game by quite a bit. And for a second I was like, oh, Spider-Man took a lot from this. And I was like, oh no, Spider-Man took a lot from Spider-Man.
No,
this took a lot from the PS2 Spider-Man game. But the way that you glide around, they somehow make gliding, which is a fairly passive form of flight, really kind of exciting by adding this grapnel boosting mechanic to it, which you do have to earn, which is a little bit annoying. But once you have it, you can actually get through the city very quickly and very smoothly.
Yeah.
And it kind of adds this little mini game of like when you're gliding, looking around for your points of grapple to continue, as smooth as you possibly can.
Yeah, boosting off of grapple points to give yourself more altitude and momentum, and then maintaining that by doing this dive bombing, alternating between dive bombing and pulling up, which I swear to God, somebody just said, oh, Super Mario World's cape was pretty fun. Why don't we do that in 3D?
Yep. it's very fun to get around in this game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they thought about including the Batmobile because, hey, it's Batman. But they decided, let's not do that because it's not going to work with the way we want to design the city. So probably a plus. I'm happy they put the city first and not the mechanic that they toyed around with.
Yeah, it would be ridiculous to have the Batmobile in this small of a space.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, it is relatively small, but there are also kind of large indoor dungeons, some of which you revisit that are all like pretty interesting. So this museum, this steel mill, things like that, and they're a little bit like the dungeons from Asylum, but again, they have a little bit more personality to them. It's not just like this is a real weird, like that Asylum had a lot of indoor rooms with gargoyles.
Yep.
Which is a pretty weird flex. Like the Williamson Simone like Sky Mall catalog that Arkham was ordering from to decorate the interior of his building.
Do you think Bruce Wayne just kind of donated a bunch of gargoyles? With contract riders on them saying, hey, these gargoyles have to go inside. Please don't ask any questions.
Yeah. Like, well, what are they going to do? Like free gargoyles.
Hey.
Like they're not going to turn it down, you know? If somebody gave me, if Bruce Wayne, if a deranged millionaire came up to me right now and said, here's 4 gargoyles, you can have them for free, but you have to set them up in corners of my house, I'd say no. But if he said, I'll install them, then I would say yes.
Yeah, no.
And I'd be fine with my tiny little apartment having 4 gargoyles for Batman in the corners. Oh. If Batman was in a gargoyle in the corner of my apartment, he'd be face to face with me. Like my ceilings are low enough. Like very funny.
Yeah. Also, there really wouldn't be any room for him up there. He'd be kind of crammed up, like a spider, actually.
Yeah, like spider, like some kind of spider Batman.
Yeah, I would modify the gargoyles to hold basketball hoops.
Oh.
And I would do sick goth jams in my living room.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else about this? So the other thing the open world does is we do have different territories in it. So not only do you have different biomes indoors, you also have different biomes outdoors. Like it's like, oh, it's amusement mile. Well, this seems like pretty obvious. The Joker was gonna hermit crab in that place.
Yeah.
Things like that, which is super cool. And it gives us more places for the dreaded Riddler trophies.
Ooh, yeah.
If you think about it, it's kind of meta in that the Riddler is the only one of Batman's rogues gallery here that commits a crime against the player.
Crime against game design.
God. They're everywhere. And you, on one hand, you gotta hand it to him. You under no circumstances do you gotta hand it to him, but you gotta hand it to him for finding lots of opportunities to secret them away. However, this I think clangs against the open world. Especially for me, especially indoors because navigation is hard. You will find what feels like either a significant location or a path forward on the critical path, and you'll get to the end of it. And it'll just be fucking a Riddler trophy. Like, be sure to drink your Ovaltine. Well, I sure wish I didn't chase this lead down because I kind of wanted to advance the story.
That's a big deal, actually. Like thinking that you found the way forward and it just being a trophy. And when that happened, I contemptuously did not pick them up.
Yes.
Like I was just like, I'm not playing your stupid game. You know. That is very frustrating because it fucks with the player's like conservation of detail, heuristics. Like as a player, like I just know, okay, I'm at a dead end. I'm going to look for a vent or I'm going to look for a vertical space. And you do so. And usually that rewards you with the way forward.
Yeah.
But just having these kind of dead ends sucks. It also sucks that there are ones that are Catwoman only. And you'll see those and they kind of taunt you like they're out in the wild.
Yeah.
But you can't get to them yet. That's a bummer. It's a bummer when you are at climactic points of the game, where time is literally, lives are hanging in the balance, and you run into one of these, and you can just imagine Batman and not dealing with that. And they actually do have a unique dungeon in place for getting them, which I watched on YouTube. But so there actually is some real content there. It's not just a trophy thing. And that's another thing that is a crime against the player, I think, is just that idea that it's not just, you get a trophy on PSN, and it's very easy, for most players, I think, to like not care about that if they don't like the task of collecting the daily.
Yeah.
But here it's like, well, I'd like to do, a Batman-esque encounter with the Riddler, one of his signature villains.
It's a shame because I think that content is actually pretty good. The idea of like Riddler as this sort of Jigsaw-esque villain with people caught in contraptions is great. And the problem is just, and even the puzzles themselves aren't that bad. Like I think by and large, the individual Riddler challenges or puzzles that they throw at you are mostly okay, but there's 400 of them.
Yeah.
And that's the real, if they had pared it down to like 50 of them or something manageable, then I think it would be better. And maybe it's that tension of, well, we want to fill this world with things for the player to do, so we have to have a lot of them. But if you're going to go through the trouble of getting all of them, gee, we want to reward you with something that makes it worth the while to do all of it. And it's just the numbers are out of whack. The ratio doesn't work with how much they want you to do versus what it takes to get that really cool little those little puzzle dungeons with Riddler victims.
It feels like there's a certain amount of gall to it. They're like, yes, we have 440 of these, and that's perfectly reasonable. Do them.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I'm not the crazy one here. You're crazy.
Yeah. Leave me alone. The and it's also, it's got to be said how many of them are low effort nonsense.
Yeah.
Like if they were all like Doug's idea, like if you had 50 of them, that's great, and have them be puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because some of these are puzzles, but a lot of them are just like, throw my remote control battering through a hole.
Yeah.
And hit the button. It's stuff like that you have to do to traverse the levels anyway. So they're usually not tricks that it doesn't require a lot of like brain work.
Yeah.
To get these things. And then later they're actual Riddlers the Riddler starts giving you, and they're like baby's first Laffy Taffy.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not even Laffy Taffy riddles. They're like Laffy Taffy Jr. Like they're for babies. Little baby riddles.
Extra soft for baby.
And he gets all mad. He's like, "Oh, I can't believe you solved that." And I'm like, "Of course I fucking solved the who walks in 4 legs in the evening bullshit, man."
Yeah.
Come on, dude. It is. It makes. I kind of like the Riddler as much as he's a dumb idea. And I like the voice actor that they have for him in these games.
And the Max Headroom filter they put on him.
Yeah, I love that. Like Max Headroom Joker. Or give me that Riddler. That sentence. But I actually like that. It's just not very fun to do. They did the same thing in Night too. In Night, if you get enough of them, there's a good Riddler mission.
Yeah.
Kind of thing you'll do.
I think there's a boss fight, and they gated the true ending behind.
And they did gate the true ending. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least they cut the number of riddles down, but still, it's too many.
Yeah.
The fucking gall.
Yeah. And I love the riddle. This is a random tangent, but the last job I had before my current job, my last day of work was Halloween.
Ooh.
So I came as the Riddler. Pretty elaborate costume, and it is very surreal to spend your last day at a job like going around shaking hands and thanking people. Law partners at law firm dressed as the Riddler. It was really just a strange experience.
People ask where you're going next, and you say, "Ah, yes, a delectable answer you desire."
Yeah. What pisses once in the evening, once in the morning, and once right now? Me.
Here, take a picture of it and send it to me.
Yeah. Off to the bathroom I go.
Oh man.
But yeah, they're bad, and we're not going to talk about them very much.
Right.
So
yeah. So we alluded to Catwoman before. Catwoman is added to this, and she is playable in the game by default if you buy it now. But the Catwoman content when this game was released was unnecessarily complicated for dumb business reasons. You only got the code for her DLC and content if you bought it new as a way to incentivize people buying it new. However, there was an exclusive deal with GameStop where if you bought a pre-owned copy, they would give you the code anyway. Who at the time was selling the most pre-owned games and kind of hurting the industry by doing it? GameStop. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit silly. She's I like her inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
She plays similar to Batman, but has a different kind of mechanical identity. No gliding, but a lot more jumping. Kind of a different set of gadgets, which are all very potent.
Mm-hmm.
At first I didn't really put them together how good those were, but this time I decided to really engage with them.
Those caltrops, man.
Caltrops are great.
Mm-hmm.
And as we mentioned, lots of people call her names.
Yeah. There's an awful lot of menace toward her specifically because she's a woman in a prison. It is not great.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's also Robin. Robin is in these challenge rooms. He is able to do. They were going to add Robin generally, but they ended up cutting him from the main game and adding him to challenge rooms and the DLC.
Yeah.
At this point, and Robin also plays similar. It's similar.
Yeah. No.
He has a stick. So.
Yeah. So we talked about this in the Arkham Asylum episode, but development on this game started while Arkham Asylum was still in progress. Like, as Arkham Asylum was winding down, Rocksteady got real cocky and said, hey, we're going to move team members off of this onto our new game. And you can even see like plans for Arkham City in a secret room in the Asylum. That secret room also alludes to Hugo Strange, which how long had it been between the last appearance of Hugo Strange and this game?
Oh,
yeah, long. He's not necessarily one of the main movers and shakers.
No, he's in the animated series quite a few. He's a big animated series thing. Like we didn't really specifically mention this, but I'm sure we mentioned in Asylum how much this series owes to Paul Dini specifically.
Yeah, and
the Batman animated series, and Hugo Strange was a big deal in that. From time to time. So I think that's what they're kind of going for, even though these are closer to Nolan-verse versions of the characters, like they're grittier.
Yeah. But I do think they pulled his voice actor as well from the animated series, as they did for a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
So the idea, get Batman out into Gotham, while still having that kind of level design of Asylum. If they'd just done the entire city of Gotham, I don't think that would necessarily work.
Yeah.
I think that,
and like Doug said, they wanted to, they wanted to maintain that density as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. And they just didn't want Batman. They want the player to be tempted to like. There's no civilians in this game.
Right.
But there's rescue objects. But there's no just like here's a family walking out of a theater. They just saw a Zorro. You can't just go up and break their spines. Right. Except for the kid, and send the kid off on a quest of vengeance to become Batman.
You're just seeding the field with like potential future Robins.
Yeah, he's just planting Robins. I'm just planting Robins. Alfred.
Well, 33% of Robins don't end up so well.
Yeah,
that's actually true. Not great batting, not great Batman average for Robins. So. Yeah.
Oh man. So they expanded the team, kind of cope with this larger world and get the visual design of it right. Yeah. If you read about the business side of this, it is really funny. So they spent $10 million in a whole year on this big campaign to market this to Call of Duty players. Because it was 2011 and Call of Duty wasn't just an outdated joke about games at the time. So they have this like all this black and white imagery and viral stunts, and they went to YouTubers and things. There's an amazing quote from the Wikipedia. Warner Brothers also developed toys based on characters through Mattel, Hallmark greeting cards, Batarang-shaped video game controllers, and a variety of apparel by Converse, Echo, Complex, Sea Life, New Era, and Briefly Stated.
I briefly stated at the end of that. Yeah. Those toys are legit.
Oh
yeah, they're pretty great looking. I remember because I, used to collect toys and I still kind of stay plugged into the Toyoverse. And I remember reading a review of the gigantic Clayface. Spoiler that they made for this game, and it's a great looking toy.
Nice.
They're good. This game, big hit, sold and reviewed really well. Considered to be one of the best games of 2011, and was largely considered to be the best superhero game until Spider-Man came along.
Yeah.
And people could still prefer this to Spider-Man. I think I love Spider-Man. They're very different though.
Yeah.
This is exceeding. Playing this again after having played that, I was surprised by how well it came up. Being 8 years afterwards.
Yeah.
Or 7 years afterwards.
8 years, man. We both were playing this in the earliest days of WoF, Gary.
Yeah.
Like in our emails or texts back and forth, like talking about that. We were like, oh, I got the Penguin. Holy shit, Dr. Freeze.
Yeah.
Dr. Freeze.
He went to school.
Yeah.
He actually is a doctor, I think.
Yeah.
The thing with people being doctors or not in this game. Because Doctor, I keep wanting, whenever I see Strange, I keep thinking Doctor Strange from Marvel.
Already a thing.
And he is a doctor. Yeah. I'm like, oh, this is a doctor. But he just goes by Hugo.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a shitload of DLC for this game. A lot of it is pre-order bonuses. You have things like costumes and challenge maps and things like that. We're going to be focused on the main campaign. Doug, if you have any experiences with the DLCs or if there's anything in particular you want to call out, obviously please insert that, but I didn't really engage with that at the time or for this playthrough.
Nor I. The only DLC I really did was the Catwoman stuff, if you can count that as a DLC, and the Harley Quinn's Revenge.
Right.
I did them the first time around though. Yeah. So I did Harley's thing. I did Harley's thing the first time around. So we're probably just about to get into it. There's also a couple games. This is a collection, right? So there's a Asylum, which came before this. There's an actual prequel called Arkham Origins, which uses a lot of the same area of Gotham and makes it winter. So it kind of season swaps it.
Oh, this is still winter. Like the cold is a huge part of this, and it's always
right.
snowing. Yeah.
Well, it's snow. There's snowfall in Arkham Origins.
It's January. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's I think Arkham Origins actually takes place on. Yeah, I think this might be January. Arkham's Origins is on Christmas Eve. I think, but it's a day where it's snowed enough to where there's snow on the ground and slush and stuff like that. Like it does look different. There's also a couple different set. It's not entirely the same section. There's a couple different set pieces. Like I know there's a big bridge that isn't in this that is in Arkham Origins. So it's close to the same, but not quite the same. And then Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
The stealth tank game. Let's get into it. And we mentioned the version you can buy now comes with the Catwoman DLC installed, which actually changes the beginning of the game. The Catwoman DLC was 4 little interstitial episodes. The version you can buy integrates them. So this starts with a little prologue that does feel a little bit out of place, and then when you find out this was DLC, it makes a sort of sense.
Yeah. So it opens up. You've got Two Faces goons. Sorry, autocorrect me. That goodness. I didn't proofread that.
Yeah, the notes say Two Faces goodness.
Two Faces goodness are in Arkham City.
Half of him.
Yeah, half his goodness. Yeah, he's half good. Yeah. Hey, real quick about his goons, does he dip half of his goon in acid? Because some of them, I don't know if it's a mask, but some of them have the half acid face as well.
I think maybe that's how he punishes them. I can see
what a
that
shitty
being
job. Can you imagine?
You can play that game of which one of them would be worse to work for, and I don't know who wins on that. They all seem pretty awful as employers.
Yeah, who would be the best one to work for?
Penguin, Obs.
Penguin's real bad. He's bad to his people, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. That might be the answer, but I don't know how Obs.
Yeah, I mean, so Ivy's not that great either.
No, Ivy, you're a slave. You don't work for her. Same thing with Mad Hatter. Joker's not so bad. You get some Juggalo makeup, and then you just kind of beat people up. Like he doesn't, willy nilly kill his people that often.
Yeah, Joker weirdly might be the best one. Actually, he's capricious and unpredictable, but
so is all these people.
Yeah.
Who would you work for, Doug?
God, that's a tough call. Probably you're right. Probably the Penguin, just because he does seem to kill his people with less capricious frequency. That's about all I could say for him.
I wouldn't mind being one of Calendar Man's calendar kids.
God damn it! I was going to say Calendar Man because at least he's organized.
Yeah, you just get to hang out in the basement and hang out and just listen to people talk about days. Yeah, just listen to Easter eggs. If you shake this one, you can tell it's rotten.
But yeah, you got some Two-Face goons, and they've got these Arkham City prisoner suits, and they're getting ready to rob a safe. This is Hugo Strange's safe, but Catwoman stops them.
Yeah. Yep. And she grabs the little USB memory card out of the safe, promising an entire game about finding and securing data, which luckily doesn't happen. This has map data, is the specific type of data we're securing at this point. But Two-Face puts a gun up to her head.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that this opens with that painting, too. It's kind of amazing that they didn't build this into the main game because it's such a bookend to the end. But yeah, that tableau is kind of pitch perfect for everything that's going to come.
What specifically is the painting of? Because I don't recall.
It's a painting of it's a biblical painting. I forget it's Cain and Abel, I think, and Cain is holding Abel's body out in the same position that the end of the game is in.
Okay.
I don't know what you want to say about spoilers at this point, but
we're eventually going to get to it. People probably know. It's the way that Batman's carrying Joker.
Right. It's the exact same image.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Canon Abel's a great little Two-Face bit too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So then we switch to the actual beginning of the game. These opening credits are run through with Hugo Strange kind of taunting Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
And Batman here, and we're cutting between that and Vicky Vale reporting about this absolutely insane idea. Like it takes a minute to actually understand what the fuck this even is.
Yeah.
At least the first time I played it, I was like, wait, why was this allowed? Like, how many yeses happened before they decided to cordon off a section of the city to make it into a wasteland, like a planned wasteland community? That's weird.
Yeah.
So I think that they don't like set that up super well.
Right.
Because it's confused with this whole like bit with Bruce Wayne entering into politics.
Mm-hmm.
Like he wants to shut it down, but we still have no idea like how that even happened. Why did people vote for this? Why weren't there protests? Things like that. Right. And there are protesters. There's 6 of them. We go and rescue them.
Yeah.
Like, so some people protested, but not very many.
No. So it's a big deal. They kind of set up this mega Amsterdam, except turns out terrible. So a SWAT team takes Bruce Wayne down. And obviously there's some dramatic irony here, like saying, hey, capturing Bruce Wayne is so much easier than Batman. And so Bruce Wayne is, interred. Like he's taken into Arkham City as a political prisoner. And Strange knows his identity. He knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, so he has that bit of leverage over him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He has you tied to a chair. He's talking to this point early on, and he's mentioning a couple things. I think this is the first time he drops Protocol 10.
Yes.
Which is going to be the specter that hangs over the game. I love Protocol 10 as what that ends up being.
Yeah.
Like why all the fanfare for just shooting, like shooting and bombing.
Yeah.
And what Protocol 1 through 9?
Yeah, Protocol 1 through 9 was just loading the bullets one by one. This shell is Protocol 3 chunk. So you escape from that chair and then go out into a prisoner processing area.
Yes.
There, it's a little minor combat tutorial to get out of there. But you're still chained up. Mm-hmm. You still have to fight, and people are giving you shit. Specifically, one criminal says, "Oh, Bruce Wayne, you're on my list," and this is our buddy. This is Deadshot.
Oh yeah,
a cool little cameo of him out of costume.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice.
Foreshadowing.
I didn't realize that.
There's another cameo there too. Somewhere, if you look in the right direction, I think actually there's 2 of them. Black Mask is somewhere off to the side.
Ooh.
And I think if you look up, you can see Azrael looking down on you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they do great Easter eggs in all of these games.
Mm-hmm.
This one, it's a machine. Like the amount of internetograms, or I don't know how you measure content on the internet. The amount of like YouTube videos and facts and everything, just listing out all of the Easter eggs in this game. If we did that, we would spend another 5 hours in this podcast covering them all. There's so many.
Yeah,
235 things you didn't notice in Arkham City.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's all pretty cool. Like I like this. I like when I figured out this was Deadshot. I was like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I didn't until this replay. I was like, oh, that's probably what that guy means.
Yeah. But yeah, all these prisoners, they're excited to have this billionaire here because how the mighty have fallen, right? None of them know that he is Batman. Although they should have gotten suspicious when he roundly defeated all of them while chained up.
Yeah,
he fights just like Batman does.
He is extremely strong.
Yeah.
So as you're trying to escape, but there's a journalist named Jack Ryder who will show up later. Mm-hmm. And as you're trying to help out and help him out, somebody hits you with a pipe and knocks you out, and then the Penguin comes up and stomps on you. Yeah. And this is I don't think Penguin was in the last game. This is our introduction to Arkham vs. Penguin, who is like this little British gangster. They decided to make him a lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels guy.
Yeah, with what appears to be the bottom of a beer bottle embedded into one side of his face over one of his eyes.
That's their version of the monocle. I think if you read those Arkham City stories or whatever, somewhere in there is the origin of like how he ended up with this somehow unremovable piece of glass in his face.
Yeah. It just kind of seems like it would be terrible for itching.
Or sleeping. Like you roll over and just like, oh, well, I'm dead again. That's like,
yeah.
Yipes.
Penguin played by Nolan North, and you cannot tell that it is Nolan North, showing that he does do things besides Nathan Drake.
Yep, 1 out of every 10 rolls. You cannot tell that it's him.
Yep.
Yeah. So you end up getting out. You beat up Penguin. There's this great moment where you lose your cuffs during this fight. Huge slow mo. The kinesthetics of this game are great. Like big push in, big slow mo as you bust off your cuffs and get the upper hand and beat up Penguin, and then do a little bit of wall climbing, like kind of get a tutorial for the Lara Crofting that happens in this game, shimmying and the such, to get up top and have Alfred drop your suit and gear.
Right.
On the Ace Chemical building, which that's where Joker was born.
Yeah. Reborn. Yeah. So yeah, you've got all of your stuff. This is something that I really like about this game, which is I don't think you lose any gadgets between Arkham Asylum and this. I may be wrong on one or two things on that, but like you start with a full complement. He's prepared.
Yeah. Unlike Origins, where they had to have excuses for you to have new gadgets,
right?
That took place as a prequel. It's pretty weird.
Yes, I can't just use a boomerang.
Yeah, exactly. There's got to be a way to brand it. When you're doing this fight, you got an encryption key off one of the Tiger guards. The bad guys are called Tiger.
Yep.
And with a Y, Tiger. They work for Strange, Hugo and Tiger. And this lets you listen in on their communications, and you get your first thing you hear through the communications that Catwoman is pinned down in the courthouse with Two-Face, and this is your first hint also that like no society on Earth would have allowed Hugo Strange to do this, because his attitude whenever they call on anything is just like, let them murder each other.
Yeah.
Which makes sense for Protocol 10, but it's just kind of weird again that there aren't, where's the ACLU on this shit?
Yeah. A huge part of the correctional system is protecting prisoners from each other.
Yeah.
So.
And that's up in the air here. And I get it. It's a comic book.
Yep.
Lest anybody call me out about that, but it is.
I wonder if anybody ever actually gets released after serving like 2 years in Arkham City.
Yeah. What is it like to repatriate to the world when you go on the other side? You go across the street into the actual city. And also, I mean, I'm sure we've talked about this before, but why does anyone live in Arkham?
Or not in Gotham? Yeah.
Yeah. Why would anyone ever live in this city?
Yeah.
Like it would be terrifying.
No disagreements there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dent is up to his old ways. He's in the courthouse, and he's holding kind of this mock trial for Catwoman, because of her transgressions. And so you have to sneak in and take out some of his goons as she is being held over a big vat of acid.
Yep.
Where did all this acid come from?
Acid store.
Okay. From Ace Chemicals.
It's an acid flip.
Oh yeah.
It's from Steam. They did another acid flip and got it. So
that only barely works, Gary.
I thought it was not so bad. I don't know. Like you text worked to Duckfeed if you think that joke worked. Text try again, Butterfield.
Explosion.
If you didn't.
Explosion at the acid factory.
Yeah, I don't know. They sound pretty similar.
Oh yeah.
I think it wouldn't work in text. I think it's one of the opposite one of those.
Oh yeah. I maybe I wrinkled at that because it sounded like you were making fun of me for saying acid weird.
Oh no,
okay.
No! I just said, like, when you just said acid factory, it sounded like you said acid factory as well.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Anywho, these guys, you have a couple different ways of approaching this, which I like. Like basically, you have to get up on the roof and come down, but you can actually drop down and stealthily do a lot of this. But generally, you're going to want to drop down and punch all these dudes.
No.
And Two-Face goes down in a cutscene. We don't really get a boss fight with him.
No.
That'll happen at the end of the game with Catwoman.
Right. Yeah, and then he kind of goes away for the rest of this. Like it's mostly Catwoman dealing with him. He figures in more in Arkham Knight. I was disappointed because I like Two-Face quite a bit. So
he's still underserved even in Arkham Knight. They just don't do much with him.
Yeah. It's all heists and stuff.
Yeah. So we talked to Catwoman. Catwoman does not know what Protocol 10 is, but she knows that Strange is working with the Joker on something special for Batman.
Right.
Yeah.
And while they're talking, we see down a sniper's sight. It is Joker's point of view.
A twisted point of view, like a funhouse mirror.
Yeah, it's really fractured. Fractured take on modern society.
He's the Bill Maher of Arkham City.
But he's gonna snipe them. Twinkle twinkle little bat, watch me kill your favorite cat. and Batman just barely saves her from getting capped.
Mm-hmm. And this gives us our crime scene tutorial.
Yeah.
And this is something that is a good thing about Arkham Origins is they double down on this. There's a lot more of this kind of detective work. This is using detective vision to check trajectories of a bullet.
Yes. Yeah. And so you have to follow the little imaginary line up to this church where this where the game kind of proper takes place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Harley's here. Harley's voice actress has changed, although it's still the same shtick. Her uniform is still super sexualized, et cetera, et cetera. And
yeah.
like,
did you guys for this podcast? Did you guys go down to Hot Topic and get a Harley Quinn shirt that says "Daddy's Little Psychopath" like I did? Like, so I went to the Harley Quinn section of Hot Topic and just like cleaned it out for recording.
Yeah. No.
I got like "Daddy hits me because he loves me." All kinds of like gross abuse flavored Juggalo shirts from the Harley Quinn collection.
Yeah, no. Some people say that mine is several sizes too small. I say, well, that's just your opinion.
Yeah. I wear it like a sports bra. I wear the shirt like a sports bra, essentially. So, yeah.
Do not in any way idolize or idealize Joker and Harley Quinn's relationship.
No, it's grotesque.
Yeah, it's a thing I see happen, and it sucks. Yeah.
I'm sure we talked about this in Asylum, but let's get Doug's take. What are your thoughts on this Harley Quinn character?
I like Harley Quinn as she's portrayed in the animated series, but I think the more like realism you foist onto it, like you said, the grosser it gets. Mm-hmm. And like she is a cool character, and oddly enough, I think she gets cooler the farther away you get her from the Joker, to kind of, where she sort of becomes her own, like basically a proto Joker. Mm-hmm. Or a substitute, which she ultimately does in this game and in the sequel. But yeah, here she's just sort of, it's just more of the same from her. I never felt like she was that distinctive in this game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like the only thing I really like her in this game is that, for as much as it's a twisted funhouse mirror, she does seem to care about the Joker, even though it's a gross relationship. And the couple times she lets the plan slip out of concern, are really cool little foreshadowing moments.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of those that are neat.
The duct tape thing is a little funny.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's the pregnancy thing they drop in the DLC, which then they really drop because I don't think it comes back in Arkham Knight.
No.
Well, in the the pregnancy thing comes up in this game, and then the DLC, they refute it.
Is that what they do? I remember it being in the DLC that you see like the crib with the pregnancy test in it or something.
It's something with in this one under her outfit, which you can find, there's a pregnancy test. And then in the DLC, and this is through reading, I played the DLC, but I don't remember it because I played it in like 2011. Through reading in the DLC, through text, they say either she lost the baby or somehow lost the baby. So who would have thought that the Joker's demon seed was not viable for bringing a baby to fruition with all the fucking Bane juice and shit they drank?
Yeah.
You're not gonna have a Titan baby. Like, no Titan babies.
No, his blood is toxic to everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Just continuing my obliviousness to any kind of like sexual relationships in games from the Life is Strange episode. I pretty much never think of their relationship as being sexual. So you guys describing a pregnancy scare between the two of them, it sounds like you're talking about either different characters or aliens to me.
They're explicitly lovers, Cole.
I know, but there's a sense of propriety, Gary.
She calls him pudding.
Yeah, they do a lot of too. There's like a bunch of weird like sexual subtext things that Joker will say, specifically in some death quotes. He gives you that are pretty creepy as well. Like we've alluded to it a few times, but like some of the sense of humor of this is juvenile in a way that's kind of gross.
Yeah.
And some of that kind of comes through.
Yeah.
I think that there might be, and I think at some point he makes some kind of allusion to some kind of strap-on thing. Like it's adult. You know? Can you imagine, like, the Joker's naked body would look grosser than Iggy Pop's? I mean, he's so stringy and like.
I was thinking about this when I was just looking at his character model. I was like, if you gave him a normal mouth and took off his makeup, he would still have a villain's skull. Like, phrenology would hold for him.
Yeah.
Like he is grotesque no matter what.
Yeah, a lot of grotesque posture.
Yeah.
Grotesque spine bend.
Yeah, chin.
Yeah, he kind of moves like Jack Skellington. He's not.
Jack, yeah, that's a great point of comparison. Actually, he's very Jack Skellington.
Yes, extremely Jack Skellington. Again, I've got to say that skull and that chin. He basically has Mac Tonight's head.
he's got a big Mac Tonight energy.
And complexion.
The worst Batman villain.
Weird crossover.
Alfred, give me the file on Mac Tonight.
I need Gridler trophy. Missing Gridler trophy.
Trophies. If you collect all 200 Gridler trophies, it just gives you a fuzzy JPEG of the Gridler.
Well, then it gives you the boss fight with Egghead.
Yeah. Very good. Make an Egghead McMuffin.
Ooh.
The Victor Freeze guys. I don't know.
That's the opposite. That would only work in text.
I know. I'm it's early. I'm uncalibrated. Recording this in the morning. But it would have worked in text, right? Yeah, it would, because it's spelled. That's how Victor Freeze spells his name. Yeah. Anywho, the Harley Quinn attacks you when you get inside this church. You counter it, of course, and then she says, "Don't move, Batman. We'll kill these hostages. Also, the Joker's very sick.
Yeah,
and this doctor here is not helping, so we're gonna murder them." And then you throw down smoke pellets and go into predator mode, and we get our predator tutorial.
Right. Yeah. You're going to be doing a lot of these. Like, there are going to be specific encounters that we kind of gloss over. Most of the ones we're going to highlight kind of here in the outline part of the show is going to be mostly when they introduce something new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you want to make sure that you take these guys out stealthily, because they do have these hostages.
Yep.
Yeah.
After you take them out, where you're introduced to a supporting character, Aaron Cash, who is a cop. He says the doctor they took was named Stacy Baker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to come up later. You go upstairs to find the sniper's nest, and you find this automated sniper rifle filled with like TVs and explosives in this room. It's very, very foreboding.
Yeah. And you got these two Joker mannequins with televisions for heads, which I'll always love. And it's broadcasting the Joker himself, and he looks very, very ill. Yep. He is extremely bitter that you left him to die on that rooftop at the end of Arkham Asylum. And you get the sense, okay, the sickness stems from whatever happened to him with the Titan toxin. And as you go in to kind of trace the signal, a healthy Joker jumps out behind you and attacks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And activates this time bomb, which you have to jump out.
Right.
Of the other thing.
They're already starting to telegraph a lot of what's coming later. In fact, they telegraphed so much in this game, I didn't realize it until I was replaying it again, of like, oh man, they really do tell you everything that's coming in a lot of fronts. But when you're confronting Two-Face earlier, he says something like, when the clown dies, Arkham City will be ours.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already like, yes, Joker is dying.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they cast down on it, like, and even like there's incidental dialogue that you hear from Harley saying, "Oh, Joker, you look amazing." Like, oh, it's you.
Yeah, exactly. Like the two Jokers.
Yes,
the two Jakes too. The two Jokers. Chinatown 3.
Underrated movie.
Yeah, China City 3. The next place we're going in the main quest is the Sionis steel mill here, because that signal tracks Joker there. Mm-hmm. And this is Amusement Mile. This is his steel mill that he's turned into a Joker family fun park.
I want to know who decided to put with a steel mill within the boundaries of Arkham City. When you think like, well, in the average prison, we don't want people turning a toothbrush into a shiv. Yeah, we'll give you a foundry.
Yeah, let them cast an arsenal.
Don't make any weather-changing machines or stuff that you guys usually do.
Okay, we're going to lock all you super scientists in here with this, all this fabrication material. Do not, under any circumstance,
fabricate. Yeah, do not, under any circumstances, fabricate. I would move that we talk. You've got Zaz here in the notes, but I would move that we just put that with the side quest.
I forgot to move that.
Sure.
You're going to be exposed to these, like a lot of these side quests are going to start throughout the course of the game here. However, we've got a side quest roundup toward the end that we're going to do.
Well, and it's worth talking about how they fit into the game, because they are really good pacing breakers. Mm-hmm. And that's the idea. That's what they do, is they break out the pace, because you not only do you get them just kind of stumble upon a bunch of them early, but you will have to fulfill portions of them while you're in these dungeons. So like there's one with Bane, which we'll talk about in total later, but you want to get that before you go to the steel mill because there's one of the quest objects inside the steel mill.
Yes.
The idea is that between those and Joker trophies, you're always doing kind of this low level patina of side quest stuff on top of the main quest.
Right.
This time when I played through it, because I'd done those side quests before, I only did a couple of them, but mostly I mainlined the main quest. And it is not the intended experience. It was still fun, but it's a worse experience. Like, you're less powerful when you don't do the side quests because you don't have those XP rewards, and it just can kind of harm the pacing. It starts feeling kind of samey when you're not taking these breaks to get a little bit of story and do a little bit of exploration.
Yeah, comparatively, like in Arkham Asylum, there's a strong sense in the critical path of the game of Batman being overwrought trying to deal with all these villains all at once, right? You know, you're kind of just keeping all these plates spinning. In the main story here, there's not so much of that going on. And a lot of that just kind of like overall, oops, too many villains, is offloaded to the side quest kind of stuff. So if you want that same feeling of everything just barely holding together, you are going to have to go and, you know, stop Zaz from doing his shit. And you are going to have to go and, you know, deal with the Riddler. So it's a little bit make your own anxiety Sunday. Yeah. So you got to fight to get inside the steel mill. Like, you know, Alfred says the only way in is through the main stack. So you dive in there. And the steel mill is pretty much Gadget City both times that you go to it. Like, you're trying to get through these steam tunnels, and it runs you through using some of your old gadgets, you know, such as your bat claw to pull things from a distance. You have your explosive gel where Batman just compulsively draws bats with the great stuff and blows it up. And then you've got the Batarang obs. Yeah.
Yep. Learning about those Batarangs.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot to say about those specific gadgets. The claw allows you to kind of yank enemies towards you in combat, which is of mild utility to me. Yeah. I don't use that a whole lot.
It's good for disarming. It's good for disarming, and also you've got a good chance of knocking somebody out if you punch them while they're flying toward you.
Yeah. Yep. I generally didn't use it. I use the explosive gel just fine. Like, that's good for crowd control. You do a real silly little flip where you make a perfect little bat symbol size gel thing on the ground while doing a somersault.
Just picturing him practicing that.
Yeah, for hours and hours. I use the Batarang a lot. Quickfire Batarang is great. That will knock anyone out of a charge. It will stun people.
Yeah.
Really well. As you head in, you rescue Dr. Stacy Baker, who we heard about, and she says, "Hey, the Joker has an unknown toxin in his blood." Well, we know. We watched him inject it into himself for like a half hour at the end of the last game.
He became a strong clown.
Yeah, he became a strong clown. Like, he became a Titan baby.
It is to their credit, I think, that they took what was arguably one of the dumbest things in Arkham Asylum and took those lemons and made some serious lemonade with them, both in this game and in Arkham Knight as well. That they managed to say, like, all right, we can fix this.
It weirdly, like, it's a dumb thing that weirdly has interesting consequences.
Yeah.
And it's much better this as opposed to just making anyone into a strong clown. Like, this is just kind of a disease is way better.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. They do a good job making lemonade with something really stupid from the previous game.
Yeah. But, you know, he's sick, and he's kidnapping all these doctors, you know, and, you know, any medical staff who is sent to the prison end up getting rerouted here to try and work on this cure for the Jokester. Yeah. To get into the Joker's room, you have to use this charge gun to manipulate a big hook with an electromagnet. This is really weird because when you scan the locked door, it says you have to pull it out of its frame, which to me says, oh, that's a Batclaw job, isn't it?
Yeah, not strong enough.
Nope.
You need magnet hook.
Yeah.
For this, I think this whole thing with the electromagnet, this is a disappointing gadget to me because primarily it is used to open and close doors.
Yeah.
You know, there's this little bit with the magnet. There are a couple areas where there are electromagnets, but I think I can only think of two, like this and the boss fight one. And that's frustrating to me. Like, I wish there was a lot more of this kind of magnet based, because it would be a great way to disarm enemies. You know, if there were more of it.
Yeah.
And there's some, but not quite as much.
Right.
My problem with it is that it has a positive and a negative state for like a push and a pull, and I can never remember which one is which. So 50% of the time I use the gadget, it's the wrong one.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's especially bad on an Xbox 360 controller where one of them is the bumper and the other one's the trigger, and one of those buttons is way more pleasant to use than the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After you get into the room, or Harley once you do this, Harley sticks a mini boss on you, Mr. Hammer. Now, for some reason, every enemy type of this is missing an arm.
Yes.
It's very weird. They make jokes about it. It's not like something they hand wave at all.
Yep.
It's very front and center that, like, if you want to be this type of Russian henchman, you lose an arm.
Yep.
So these aren't like bespoke Batman characters, because there's a poster for them near where you ultimately find Mr. Freeze imprisoned. That shows like, like one guy with like a hammer and one guy with a sickle, and they're both like together, like missing an arm. Like they used to be sewed together, or they were Siamese twins or something.
I don't remember this from Batman. It could be beyond my Batman ken.
Yeah. The other one has a proper name. When you find the guy with the sickle is like Abramovich or something like that. And I just put it together, hammer and sickle. So maybe these are communist clowns who are brought over. But I repeat myself.
Yeah, it's okay. I think that they are. It looks like they are from. Are they in the comics? Yeah. I don't know. There's some comic art, but it's hard to tell. And they were Siamese twins, or conjoined twins, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah. So correct. Huh.
All right.
Yeah, you're good pull. For some reason, this just seemed like a super mook, like a super thug to me.
I didn't notice it in any prior playthrough. Then I just happened to hove my camera in the view of that particular poster and went, oh, so that's what they are.
Yeah.
No. Apparently they have a little entry in the codex, but I did not look at the codex.
Right.
In this. He's not, the whole thing with this guy is if you shock him, he'll swing really wildly.
Yes.
So you can make him, one of the things I always love about the Arkham games is enemies will hurt each other.
Mm-hmm.
They use that to good effect.
Yeah. So good mini boss fight. I didn't realize that he was lore. Yeah, is that the right word? He was from the lore.
He is from lore.
Yes.
You go in. Harley is sobbing over a dead Joker in a wheelchair, and Batman is even taken aback by this a little bit because Batman will not. Spoiler: Batman doesn't do well when he doesn't have the Joker. Right? Like the Arkham Knight does that really well.
Uh-huh.
And another Joker pops out because it's just tons of Jokers in this, who and knocks him out with a baseball bat.
Yes. Oh, so the healthy Joker didn't attack him up in the clock tower. This is when he does.
This
is
the healthy Joker.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I thought that wasn't correct, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
So I didn't, in case I had forgotten. Yeah, he just triggers that clock tower thing remotely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
But he says, "Oh, you fell for the old fake Joker trick." Obviously, Mark Hamill's voice acting is excellent. It is. It is inimitable.
Way better as opposed to the space wizard that shall not be named.
Look, he has Arkham in his name.
What?
Oh, Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. Arkham Asylum.
Yeah. Mark Hamill's name is a subtle nod to the fact that he voiced the Joker.
Parents gave him an Easter egg.
They gave birth to the Easter egg of the nation.
Yeah. So, Batman is knocked out, and if you have the Catwoman DLC, you're going to cut away to Catwoman doing her thing after Batman was rescued. Batman rescued her.
Yep. Sees this happening, since all this is happening, figures like, oh, okay, Batman's not around. I'm gonna burgle. I got the need to burgle.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to go to my lair, which is just her apartment. She has an apartment. Like, just thinking about if you own a property in Arkham or in Gotham.
Yeah.
And now your apartment has been gerrymandered to be part of Arkham City.
It's what Doug was talking about, the eminent domain.
Yeah. Eminent domain. Yeah, it's fucked, man. The Catwoman's got a case.
Yeah.
So as you're going to go gear up, you run into some thugs outside your apartment. You beat them up and you grab your gear, which include your caltrops, which are her #1 weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And you throw these on the ground. It stops people for a second. And some bolas, which I didn't really get tons of use out of.
Mostly, it was like a quick fire weapon. It was almost like a quick fire replacement for the battering.
I think that's the idea, but she also has the whip, which has really great range. That just really similar stuff.
That whip is basically like Goku's staff from Dragon Ball.
It goes as long as it needs to.
Yeah.
Something I didn't realize until playing this time around is that when, as Catwoman, when you climb on buildings,
mm-hmm.
there's a perfect timing system to it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get it correct, because I didn't have the prompts on, but I turned them on, and if you get it perfectly, you jump to the top of the building in one leap.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting. Like, doesn't do a whole lot. Just
I could never get that to work right.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like it's a weird rhythm. There's not cues for it. You just kind of have to know the rhythm based on those prompts.
Yeah.
There's not a visual cue in her posture or anything.
Right.
It's just it's just strange.
One thing that is cool and different about Catwoman's movement that we didn't talk about in the generalities, she can cling to and crawl on mesh ceilings.
Oh yeah,
which are all over the place, and I like how that forces you to examine the world in a different way when you're from her perspective.
That's how you're able to get into Ivy's lair.
Yes,
beyond some goons, and you get a Poison Ivy boss fight.
Yeah, essentially.
Poison Ivy is very mad at you for killing some flowers. And sends her weird pod people. Like she hypnotizes men by putting them in plant pods and turns them into zombies, which you have to fight while she is at the back shooting projectiles at you.
I like the kind of lived-in relationship between Catwoman and Poison Ivy, although it makes very little sense.
In the comics, there's a lot more like kind of ship-worthy kind of stuff with them.
Oh yeah.
Like they're buddies and stuff, and this them being lovers is a really big thing in the fandom.
Yeah. But before it became canonical that Ivy ends up with Harley, right?
Yeah. Yep. The three of them having some romantic tension, I think, is a thing in the comics.
Yeah.
For quite a while. So Batman wakes up because Harley kicks him in the face. And Joker's here, but he looks worse than usual. Like he's clearly dying.
Yeah.
And he spills the beans and kind of gives us our twist. He says, my blood's poisoning me. It's no good. Also, I put some of my blood into you. What a creepy thing to say on waking somebody up, you know?
Yeah, my blood's killing me. Take my blood, please.
Yeah.
You already did. Also, I've shipped it around to all the hospitals in Gotham.
And what are they going to say? Free? they're going to turn down free blood? It's like your gargoyle plan. I got the idea from you, Batman. Yeah,
it's like that Onion video, like mysterious anonymous donor gives 50 kidneys to local hospital. Just them sorting a big bag of kidneys.
What are they gonna do? Turn down the free kidneys?
Yeah, saves lives. Come on.
Yeah. Anything that's free, I want.
Yeah,
that's how the world operates. So they want that blood. So that's and he's like, Mr. Freeze was working on a cure for this for me, but he went dark. So he kicks you and your wheelchair out of the building so you can go find Freeze and the cure because he gives you the self-interest.
Did we mention he was strapped to a wheelchair?
Oh yeah,
I should probably say that.
We probably should. It's not like Batman is wheelchair bound for the rest of the game.
Yeah, man,
that comes later in the comics.
Yes.
Yeah. I would that comes up in Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
I would play that. I would play that game.
Yep. But this raises the stakes and it changes things quite a bit because your fate is tied to Joker's now. This blood in you has given you the same same sickness, and Joker, instead of just kind of being this menacing voice on the PA and somebody that you are fighting against, like you're incentivized to you're working for the same thing to get this cure. And something that I love is this forces the game, or it allows the game to go into the specifics and the messed upness of the relationship between Batman and Joker, and a lot of that is played out in these voicemails that Joker will leave you because obviously you do not pick up. You screen Joker's calls.
Yeah. Well, you have to, it does the thing that I hate in games where you have to be in the menu to listen to it.
Yes.
If you walk around, you turn off your phone. I'm like, no. I'm just flying through the air. Let me listen to the fucking audio log while I'm doing this.
Yes.
So I didn't listen to them either. Just because I read some transcripts online. I did the Nightline transcripts of it. So you do this hot and cold. You have a couple different ways where and it's just triangulating data. It's just, data speak, like get the satellite uplink to determine the signal strength. Just buzzwords. As you get to find out where Mr. Freeze is at the Gotham City Police Department. And that's been locked up. It was probably a bad idea to put their police department inside the prison.
Yep.
That's ironic. It'd be like a piece of broccoli inside like a Starburst, and unfortunately the Penguin's men have this surrounded.
Right.
So you take them out. And on the way, once you get inside, the Penguin's men are there in the forensics lab. You have to clear out. But unfortunately, Freeze is gone. He's been taken hostage in the museum and you have to go rescue Mr. Freeze. And this is kind of a long stretch of Penguin stuff here.
Yes. Yeah, the museum is Penguin's territory. Before we move there entirely, I love when you're taking out Penguin's men in the forensics lab. Like you kind of get a sense like, hey, this is a really lovingly developed arena, right? The fact that you have to do a predator section here before the boss battle later, I think is a really cool touch and a really cool kind of concession to like, you're going to be rewarded for knowing this space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting looking, again, like going through cool zones, going through cool, interesting areas filled with unique detail.
Yeah.
Is a big advantage this game has. So for the next, quite a while, we're going to be in the museum. Mm-hmm. This introduces our first significant new enemy type, which are knife enemies. And knife enemies, you cannot normally counter.
Right.
Is their whole thing. You have to hold counter and press back to kind of do that, back off a little bit until they exhaust themselves, then you can fight them. You can still do all the normal things you can do, though. So if you want to jump over them and hit them in the back, you can cape, flourish them to stun them. You can do things like that.
Yeah.
You just can't do a normal counter on them.
They change the rhythm of fights when they show up. What were we going to say, Doug?
I was saying you can unlock a skill that allows you to do a slightly different kind of, I think you do kind of an interrupt with the counter and then hit them and kind of knock them out in one shot.
Yeah.
But it is, I always found that a little difficult to get that to proc correctly.
Yes.
I think it's supposed to be after you've done a successful regular counter of them, or like the back off move, the avoidance move you do. And the tricky thing is these guys are never by themselves. Right. So doing that backup move while other people are menacing you is pretty tricky. Getting that there. Once you start going in, there's a door that you can't quite hack because the Penguin has military grade comms jammers hanging around here, foreshadowing Arkham Knight and all the time you're going to spend going in and destroying communication jammers and uplinking. Yes. So you have to find and destroy 3 of these, including one that's like deep underground in the subway station, which is an area we'll actually go through for real a little bit later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's annoying to navigate. Like I found myself like just bumping up against dead ends or thinking again I was on a critical path, but finding like, oh, I'm in Riddler land. Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that when they have you destroy the uplink thing that they have you punch through it like the 3 screens. Like when you have to do the thing bits 3 times to do the thing 3 times, like it's very video game.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, and it's kind of an annoying reason for that. I was trying to think of why would they do that, and my thinking was they don't want you to be able to just sneak up and do it. They want you to have to clear out the arenas. But why not?
Yeah.
Like if I'm stealthy enough to get up there and just hit the thing without them noticing, that should be awesome.
Yeah.
You know? But having them on all 3 sides ensures that you're visible from all sides when you're doing it. And you're definitely going to get seen. I
do like that when you go down into that tunnel, you get the preview that Solomon Grundys are about.
Yeah.
What's the preview that you get?
You see that giant poster, which is itself I think a Riddler trophy, but you can hear the goons talking about like, oh yeah, there was this Penguin moved into the museum and he has this thing down there.
Okay.
The Penguin's been collecting strong things.
Yes.
Because he's got a Super Shark and a Solomon Grundy. So which is really great. And I've always liked Solomon Grundy. He's just a big dumb ogre. But that whole Born on a Monday thing I think is great. And the way that articulates in this game is cool.
His name should be Solomon Grundy.
Yeah, great. I would like to eat a Solomon Sunday. So once you actually get inside, you go and destroy the uplinks. You can use your code jammer thing, which is very easy. It's just rotating the 2 sticks. People's passwords in this are very funny to me. Yeah,
what you learn is nobody has good OPSEC in all of Gotham.
Nope. Deadshot's password for his weapon cache is literally headshot. Later, it's his name with 1 different letter, and it's the thing he likes to do. Like anyone in the world would guess this password.
Yes.
And Batman has to get out his little cell phone to do it. His little Nokia cracker thing. So once you get inside, you see the Penguin has taken a bunch of police officers hostage, and we're on this series of Penguin kind of challenges here in this museum. The museum is great though. Like the museum is he set up exhibits.
Yeah.
For everything. Like he has tons of here's a cop he has dressed up as Batman who's dead or whatever, and then he recorded voiceover for the museum kiosks for everything. Can you imagine that? That's very weird to me.
Yeah.
There's also
to be the museum like audio tour docent.
Yeah, it's very. And he also set up that gigantic animatronic T-Rex scare when you come in here, which I love as well. Like, boy, how many kids died to that before Penguin came and made this safe? Like,
weirdly, that got me every time.
Yeah.
I thought like, oh, am I fighting a dino? Oh wait, no, I'm not. Okay, this is not this is not Althea's keep. Okay.
There's a little Easter egg to that because Batman in his big cave full of things with his giant penny and shit has a dinosaur in there.
No,
yeah.
Nice. The kind of the big centerpiece fight for this is in the gladiator pit. So, Penguin says like, like here we go. It's time for the big show. And you fight just an unreasonable number of dudes, including your first Titan thug. They're back. Not in Pog form. But these things are cool because you have to do kind of the mega stun on them, and you could eventually ride them around and take out all of the regular dudes.
Yeah. So when you see like too many enemies and like that, oftentimes there's a trick.
Yes.
And that's this one. And I always find this very satisfying to ride on top of the Titan Man and do the good punch.
Yes.
At this point, also Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, joins Oracle, joins your radio line. Yeah, she's Oracle at this point.
Yes.
Was Batgirl for a time until that fateful day.
Yeah. And so she is on there, and she is mostly a hectoring, concerned parent to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is reasonable because Batman is about to make a lot of stupid decisions in this, and she keeps him on the straight and narrow. So,
well, yeah, and he's dying.
Yes, true.
Yeah. Then we get into this section with the water section, which this to me is one of my biggest problems I have with this game. Like, it's relatively short, but this kills the pacing so much.
Yeah.
Using the bat claw to first walk very slowly over the ice. And then eventually when you start doing the little on the little ice things and using the bat claw to scoot around, it's so slow.
Yeah.
And go slow and quiet and not go above a certain thing is something they did with Killer Croc before.
Right.
And it's never that interesting. Like, how slow can you go? Is not super exciting.
Yeah.
How fast you can go. That's exciting.
Yeah.
How slow? I don't know. I can go pretty slow, guys. Like, if you're just testing my patience, I can be patient, but what do you get at the end of that? Like, what did I earn for that test?
Yeah. It's like one of my favorite YouTube videos, a Super Mario slow run.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
But yeah, it's this is not great. It's only slightly heightened by the fact that you've got the shark in here. They played around with the idea of alluding to Batman's shark repellent, from the Batman movie, but they just couldn't find a good way to do it. As it stands, it is a way for them to kill you if you fall into the water. And when you're eventually pulling the rafts around, sometimes the shark comes up and you have to punch it in the nose until it leaves.
Yep. Shark punch.
Yeah.
Yep. As you kind of make your way through here, past this thing until you get to, the section where Penguin freezes a cop with the Mr. Freeze gun, which he's stolen. You have to rescue him, and then make your way into Penguin's war room, where he's if you just go to a Penguin at this point, you cannot take him down because he has the freeze gun. It's too powerful. So we need to get Mr. Freeze some intel from Mr. Freeze first.
Yes,
who's being kept in a tropical exhibit, which he would hate.
This is the opposite of what he likes. Also, it is killing him.
Yeah. Slowly killing him. He has a weird little like Tony Stark vial of goo in his chest.
Yes,
that keeps him cold.
Yeah. I love Mr. Freeze's portrayal in this. Like, aside from being the best boss fight in the series, Maurice LaMarche's presentation of him is really good.
Yeah, he's very good.
So what's happening here? Batman says, "Hey, how do I stop your gun?" Mr. Freeze says, "Why would I tell you that?" And then, back and forth, leverage, etc.
Well, he doesn't just leverage; he pulls out his little screw thing. Yeah. Like, Batman's pretty rough in this.
It's still technically true. It's still leverage.
Yeah, it is leverage, goo leverage.
Yeah, but you need to go find Mr. Freeze's suit to get a special chip so you can make this disruptor that will stop the gun.
So again, we're doing, this is a long section where they're really delaying our gratification. of fighting here. So the equipment we need is in that suit, in his suit, which is in the armory, which is guarded by thugs that have thermal goggles. This is a new thing that they set up. They can see you up on the gargoyles.
Yes.
But you can see their cone of vision for that, so you can avoid them still. You eventually can get a thing an upgrade that allows you to ignore this.
As long as you're standing still. Yeah.
As long as you're being still.
Yeah.
Which I did not find that useful because this was not a big deal to me.
They do a good deal to make the gargoyles less viable in these. I think that they smartly recognize that the gargoyles were overpowered a little bit in the original. So like if you do an inverted takedown, it is not silent in this. Like the people will scream for help. So you can't just, ride around and wait for all of them to come around. Like that is still a first mover thing that will alert them to you. Yeah. And then these thermal goggles will make it hard to, stay up there. So they're forcing you to stay on your toes, which I think is a good thing for a sequel to do, to complicate previous strategies you might have over relied on.
Yeah. Once you get this, you get the disruptor, which you can now use to get close to Penguin and stop the gun, which is pretty cool. Like he comes up to you and you tap the thing behind your back and keep walking on him, and he's panicking as he's trying to shoot you. It's a really great little scene.
Yep. Yeah. And then there's a very satisfying, you uppercut him off of his platform.
Yeah.
At which point I feel very bad because Batman has like 3 feet on Penguin.
Penguin is a very small child. It's very Mortal Kombat-y.
Yeah.
What you do to him at this point, but he blows the platform, and this sends you into the Grundy pit. You've been Grundy, everything to Grundy.
Yeah.
And we get a boss fight with Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, christened on Tuesday, et cetera, et cetera,
and so forth. What do you think of this boss fight, Doug?
I like this boss fight. It definitely feels much more gamey than some of the other ones that come later. And I'm glad they do that thing that you alluded to earlier, which is they tell you, hey, you have to do your explosive gel cartwheel to take this out, because I never would have divined that that's the solution without being told that. Once you know it, it's kind of easy. You just have to drop your explosive gel onto these 3 ports, and then you incapacitate them, and you do that a few times. The end of the boss fight is crazy, that you just rip Solomon Grundy's heart out.
It's like, pretty metal.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, it is very metal, because at that point he's been like, he gets electrocuted and like lights himself in like blue flames. Which he does look like it just, what's his face from the Iron Maiden?
He becomes Smelter Grundy.
Yeah, he's huge. But again, Batman has the no kill rule, but apparently it's okay to rip Solomon Grundy's heart out, because I guess nothing kills him.
Yeah.
It's just going to inconvenience Grundy.
Yeah, it's also why he can kill Ra's al Ghul, so it's fine.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Penguin jumps down here with a rocket launcher, and you think this is going to be another boss fight, but this is just like a little. You can deal with this rocket launcher no problem and just beat the crap out of Penguin. It's a little bit catharsis, because it's like, yeah, fuck this guy, man.
Yeah. I've seen his works. He has to go.
He's got to go. So you beat up Penguin down there, and then Freeze says, so we talk to Freeze like, okay, well the cure is useless without a restorative enzyme. And he goes, restorative enzyme, Ra's al Ghul's blood. And as a nice little coincidence, as this is happening, an assassin breaks out of a display case and gets away, leaving a trail of blood. And we know that uniform because she's one of Ra's al Ghul's assassins.
Yes.
Well, I love right here that, first of all, after you finish beating the Penguin up, you imprison him in one of those museum pieces.
Yeah. I wish you recorded your own little voiceover for it.
Yeah.
There is something that plays, I think, if you activate the thing. Or no, you just talk to the Penguin.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then that begs the question of how long was that assassin just going to sit there? Like, what was the plan had Batman not come along?
Infinity.
Because she's very obviously capable of getting out on her own.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird little like coincidence.
Yeah.
Thing. Like it's not amazing as a deal. It's like, okay, well, we're going for the League of Assassins with Liam Neeson's. It's time for the line launcher.
Yeah.
So you call for your line launcher, and then you follow this trail of assassin blood. They put lots of like sections of goons between you and there to try to tempt you away from the chase. And if you want some extra XP, but I just ignore them.
No,
and continue fighting, continue chasing.
The goons will be there when I'm done. It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. So you close the distance, and you got to do like a little bit of a parkour chase against this ninja. in order to place a tracker. However, you're downed because the ninja has help. This is where Robin shows up. And he's, trying to do the whole, let me help. And Batman sidelines him and says, hey, go around to these hospitals and tell them to throw out all the blood.
Yeah. Oh, you mean this free blood with a little smiley face on it? Should we throw away the smiling blood? It's type positive. Very positive.
Yeah. But yeah, he gives you the line launcher. This is fine.
I don't like Robin. I think I've decided.
Just on the whole, or this presentation of Robin?
I think in general, I think this was the thing that tipped me over. I've always been a little lukewarm on Robin.
Yeah.
And now I think I'm like, you know what? This is a bad character and I've never liked him. And I think he just muddies up Batman.
It's basically a Scrappy-Doo kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
If Batman wasn't already appealing to kids, we need to have somebody for kids to project onto.
Yeah.
Like,
he's like Snarf.
he's like Snarf. Every kid wanted to be Snarf.
I like him in the Lego Batman movie.
Yeah. Which
is a miraculous movie in general.
Yeah.
And that's a good Robin.
Yeah.
But that's mostly because that's a fun Batman. This Robin, I'm just like, let me help you, Bruce. Bruce, you can't do this alone. It feels very, as soon as he's on the screen, it's like time for generic nonsense.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Robin, Doug? Do you care for the Robin?
Just the Robin character. There is the cognitive dissonance of like Batman deciding like, what I need on my quest to rid me of crime? I should put this orphan in harm's way with me.
Yeah.
I like his presentation in the animated series. The Dick Grayson version, not the Tim Drake one, and this is Tim Drake that we get here. But there's part of me thinks, man, there would have been a cool version of this game. Maybe not this game, but they could have made a game that was co-op. I think a co-op game with like one person playing Batman and one person playing Robin with this combat engine opens up a lot of interesting possibilities that they never really did. Or the other thing that you're alluding about is him saying, let me help. Like, maybe you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like, 20 different villains running hog wild in here. He can help you.
Yeah. The idea, it serves drama that he's there, but not sense.
Mm-hmm.
And Batman is a loner. He doesn't want people to get, sorry, go ahead.
I would say there's just that obligatory sense of like, well, we got to put Robin in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Asylum was fine without him.
Yeah. Asylum did okay. I think the idea being like, Batman, it's such a weird thing because the logic behind him not letting him help is that he might get hurt, but he is the one who trained the orphan to help him. So like, which is it, Batman?
Yeah.
I like the idea they at least give him something useful to do, that he's running around to the hospitals trying to solve the Joker blood problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Collect all the fun blood. He's doing his own 3D platformer in another game where you have to collect 100 pieces of fun blood, like a rare game, and see if you get all the fun blood. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. So you got the line launcher here. This just lets you grapple horizontally as opposed to needing to grapple upward. You can get a fun upgrade for this in your skill tree where you can tightrope walk on the line, kind of letting you get new vantage points for drop kills, which I really enjoyed playing around with.
Mm-hmm. Create your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the chase, again, following this blood, leads you down into the old Gotham tunnels where Joker's men have found tiger guns and signal jammers. At first, it seems like they found them. We can just come out and say, Strange is giving these guns to Joker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You learn this from a nurse that they took hostage. Actually, she's not a nurse; she's like a medical intern. So they're getting real desperate.
Yeah. Yep. I like that little bit. That's just an intern.
Yeah.
Who's there? So this introduces. We're heading to the Wonder. Is it Wonderland or is it Wonder? Is it called Wonderland?
I think it's
Wonder City.
Wonder City. There we go.
City, there we go.
Yeah. So Wonder City, which is this cool World's Fair kind of thing. This is pretty imaginative and cool looking. I think like it's just like a little frozen city beneath the subways that has World's Fair energy. And it's this exhibit, like this Land of Tomorrow thing, where they have these like clink clonk robots.
Clink, you're dead.
Yeah, clink, you're dead. Clink clonks. And you, they know the way in. They have cameras that are still barely online, but because they're so old, you have to piece them together by scanning these different robots until sword maidens come out and fight you. And these are fun to fight. I like fighting the assassin ladies. They tend to be a little bit more fragile, but they teleport away and stuff. They don't let you finish combos on them. And they do they attack with swords. Sometimes they're knife attacks and sometimes they're regular counters.
Yeah.
And you have to watch for which one to do to see how you respond.
Yeah.
So
it is fun to fight something more capable and as agile as Batman, because most of the thugs are, thugs.
Yeah. Just, hired goons.
Yeah.
The after you scan all the robots, you're able to get into the actual assassin's lair and meet Talia, who is one of Batman's girlfriends.
Yes. And in this version of the story, she had been sent by Ra's to seduce him and bring Batman in as the successor, right? As the successor, because, the Lazarus Pit doesn't work forever. After 600 years, things are starting to get weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And is this the point where she looks at you and she notices, oh, you don't look so good?
She pulls off his mask or something like that and recoils in
for
horror.
A moment.
Yeah.
Yep. So she knows you're sick, and that's part of why she goes along with this. You're like, Batman says, hey, you were right. I'm going to join the League of Assassins. I'll be the new Ra's al Ghul. And then she's like, why would I believe you? You'd never done it before. He's like, I have no choice. I'm sick. Yeah. I'm going to die. And this is just Batman straight up lying to his girlfriend. It's a clever stratagem of him lying.
Yeah, nobody's thought of that before.
Yeah. No, Batman doesn't lie.
Yeah.
So you drink a little bit of the demon blood. Just to kind of give you a little boost. But the demon blood doesn't know that, so it takes you into the psycho realm to actually do the trial.
Yeah.
With Liam Neeson's.
So Liam Neeson's Psycho Realm on loan from the Scarecrow collection.
Yeah,
I have this in my notes as Salvador Dali's Pilot Wings.
Yay.
That's very good. Yeah. I think this is them nodding towards the Scarecrow segments in the first one.
Yeah.
Totally. But it's less, it's kind of less cool because it's not spooky or anything. It's just sand.
Yeah.
This is silly.
It's pretty silly. It is you doing these dive bombing challenges, and the game hasn't really tutorialized dive bombing up to this point.
Well, it has if you wanted to. So we had to do a little VR training to get the grapple boost, as we mentioned.
Oh yeah.
But you can do more. We can do a lot of those if we want to.
Right.
And they're all about flying. But flying with kind of dexterity is so rarely required in this game.
No.
It's here pretty much.
You can tell that's why they made this whole thing a tutorial. They give you this blue glowing flight path to follow.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there was a version of this game where maybe they gave it to you the first time and then the rest you have to figure out how to glide through, and it was too hard.
Yeah.
So they just leave the path on the entire time, which sort of eviscerates all of the challenge, but it's still cool looking, I guess.
Yeah, and also the dive bombing system it feels good in your hands. It is kinesthetically really fun, so it's not a war crime. It's just strange because you're going between these platforms, and Ra's is giving his whole spiel about the planet is unclean and we need to wipe it, get rid of humanity for the upcoming ecological disaster. And I'm like, thumbs up, sign me up, buddy. But yeah, you eventually just kind of get to the end and pull your old switcheroo on them.
I like that Ra's al Ghul, that he appears to you in this is he sort of looks like kind of the same design as the genie from Aladdin. He's just this blue thing that's just a torso.
Yeah. He does have big torso energy.
Yeah.
This. When you eventually get to the end and we actually get to the real Ra's al Ghul, and you're supposed to kill him, you're like, I lied. I decided not to.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh my God, Batman tricked us again. And this makes Ra's al Ghul get up like a Liam Neeson's and fight you.
Yes.
And you do the boss with Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Which is another sand void.
Yeah, you're whisked back into the sand void. Because Batman will not kill this newly rejuvenated Ra's al Ghul. And what's cool about this is occasionally it will flicker back to the real world.
Yeah.
As you are fighting these multiple sand copies of Ra's al Ghul, and kind of what's really happening in reality is only one of them is real, but it is just which one is Ra's al Ghul just changes because he is moving around you so much faster. I don't know how they account for the fact that giant Ra's al Ghul can hurt you. I don't know what the real world version of giant sand race is, but.
If you believe you're being hurt, you're being hurt.
Yeah,
it's
true.
like D&D illusion magic.
If you die in the game, you die in real life.
This is straight up like a Sandman boss fight from a Spider-Man game.
Yep.
Every part of this, him sending out the sand clones.
Mm-hmm.
This is so Sandman. I did not realize that Ra's al Ghul had sand powers.
No.
or whatever. Like, I thought he was just supposed to be a good fighter. I think that this is actually like, this is a fight, it's fine. It's not great. But what this fight should have been, and the big thing to recommend Arkham Origins is it has the boss fight with Deathstroke. Mm-hmm. And that is not Mr. Freeze good, but I think it's the second best boss fight the series has ever done. Mm-hmm. And it's what this should have been, because that's just a really great duel that really demands is really demanding about your parrying and deflecting and countering. Mm-hmm. And that's what Ra's al Ghul fight should have been, not sand powers.
Yeah.
There's
like one little QTE section where he comes in and does this massive combo, and you have to do like a speeding up of your counters to kind of match with it. And that is like a little taste of what this ought to have been.
Well, even that you can button mash.
Yeah.
The counter. It just wants you to tap it as quick as possible. It's not like you're timing it with the strikes.
Right.
Or you don't have to.
Maybe I just interpreted that because of Sekiro.
Yeah, it's different than Sekiro, but it's the Deathstroke video or boss fight is a little closer to that.
Yeah.
So then after you beat him, you go back to what did you think of this boss fight, Doug?
I think it's okay. It's like you said, it gets way overshadowed by some of the other boss fights, and it doesn't track with sort of what we know about Ra's al Ghul. It feels like they wanted to do, like you said, to do something with the Scarecrow here. And it's just, we'll just make Ra's al Ghul do it instead. So mechanically it's fine. It's not like it's not fun to do, but it still leaves me a little flat as for this part of the game.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Ra's al Ghul's voice acting is really good. I mean, just like in general it is, but if you look at the cast, like these are like, oh, I know this guy. It's D. Bradley Baker, the guy who voices Nightcrawler. In the X-Men Legends games and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. He also does like a bunch of Star Wars voice acting, and he's Klaus in American Dad. It's a good voice actor who is playing
all
this
the voice
type here.
In this is really stellar.
Yeah. And it's especially good if you're just a nerd who recognizes these names, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The in the real world,
to digress on that just a little bit, there is this podcast that I listened to a little bit called Talking Tunes, which is hosted by Rob Paulson.
Oh yeah.
And there was an episode where they actually had in Kevin Conroy and I think Paul Dini and one of the other guys heavily involved with the animated series to talk about it, and it's really interesting. I highly recommend that particular episode.
Nice.
After you beat Sandman, you go back to the real world where you have Rage cornered, and he takes his daughter hostage. He's gonna kill his daughter and say, like, I'm gonna force you to do this.
Right.
Like, I know you love my daughter snack.
I know you love my daughter because I made you love my daughter.
My daughter, yeah, pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
And the way we get is with the reverse. This unlocks the reverse batarang, which I never touched again.
The same.
Yeah, it's very weird. It's a batarang where you miss on purpose and it hits people on the backstrike.
Yeah. They might as well have just unlocked the Ra's al Ghul negating spray.
Yep. The hard counter.
Yeah. Batman lifts his tail and sprays Reese with this.
So after you knock him out, Talia is very disgusted with her father, and for sacrifice her, and disgusted with Bruce for his famous Batman trick of lying, and leaves.
Nobody ever expects Batman to lie.
Yep.
Yeah. So she's gone. And this is something that just happens in this game that is really not strange, but like, okay, Ra's was about to kill me, but now we're going to have a heart to heart. Like this happens with Mr. Freeze later, where he says like, yeah, no, I really need somebody else to pick up my crusade because each time I go into the Lazarus pit, I'm terrified of what might come out.
Yeah.
And Batman says, oh, this is your last chance, et cetera, but not before he steals just a bunch of Ra's blood. So.
Yep. The actual happy blood.
Yes.
Not the happy blood that Joker spread around. And this won't be the last we'll be seeing of Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
On the way out, we're introduced to one of the most annoying enemy types to me, the enemy with a shield.
Yeah.
The maneuver you have to do to get these guys is an attack from above, which is a 3-button combination that didn't fire for me consistently. And doing that in the middle of a fight while you're doing counters from everyone else is pretty obnoxious because these guys' attacks you cannot counter.
Right.
They'll charge you, and if you're dealing with other enemies, like I like these guys one-on-one just fine. But when in a group, I made it a priority to disarm them in other ways.
Yeah.
Like if you do that somersault with the gel, they'll drop their shield. And I would just do that instead of doing the prescribed method for them because it didn't work consistently.
Something that complicates some of these encounters in a way that I don't know I'm entirely positive on is the fact that most of what makes an enemy special is a thing they can drop and somebody else can pick up. So, you know, if you're playing this like a video game, you might think, all right, these shield guys are problems because they can charge me. I need to prioritize them. Really, all that does is take the shields out of the equation for like a minute before somebody else picks them back up and he goes again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's true of guns too. One of the things we didn't talk about is when you get the jammer, the Mr. Freeze jammer, you can actually deactivate some guns.
Yeah.
With it, you have limited charges on it, but I love that ability. I always did that. Every encounter, 2 people get fake guns.
Yeah. What were we going to say, Doug?
I was saying, every time I would, if I was approaching and I would see there's a few guys with guns, I'm like, well, I might as well neutralize a few of these.
Yeah.
Free.
Because unless you upgrade your ballistics armor, guns are basically instant death.
Yeah, they're serious business.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
When you get out of here, Strange announces over the loud, and this whole time he's been announcing over the loudspeaker, like, you know, protocol 10 in 5 hours.
Yeah.
At this point, he says there's going to be a new inmate, Quincy Sharp. This is the mayor.
Yeah.
At this point, and he says, hey, there's a new inmate. You know, let make him feel welcome, which is essentially a death sentence.
Right.
You rescue him, and Strange says, like, no, you know, or Quincy says, oh no, you know, Strange approached me with these financiers saying he could solve the Arkham Asylum problem with his money. So I set up Arkham City and put him in charge, and you know, to work on my campaign for mayor.
Right.
Like essentially, and it's like, well, you fucked up, Sharp.
Yeah. He also drops in there something about, I don't know if it's said out loud or if it's in the codex, that Quincy Sharp's alter ego is, I forget what he was in Arkham Asylum, but he's the ghost of Arkham or something. That this was all incepted by Hugo Strange, like messing with his head.
Oh, huh.
Because the ghosts of Arkham are those weird Easter eggs in Arkham Asylum, where it seems like it's about the origins of the asylum, as told by Grant Morrison's "A Serious House on Serious Earth."
Yeah,
and that's interesting.
So with this bit of information from Mayor Quincy Sharp, we've got to, we kind of put that in our back pocket because we've got a lot of happy blood in us that needs to be moderated. Barbara says, hey, before you chase this lead, you really, really need to go talk to Freeze about this cure.
Yeah, you're going to die, you idiot.
And Freeze is back, in the forensics lab, which he has modified to be his own little cold room. And you go talk to him, and Mr. Freeze says, hey, I'm not going to give you this cure. He smashes one of the vials that he made out of the Ra's al Ghul blood. And he says, hey, the Joker has taken Nora, Mr. Freeze's sick wife, who has been frozen, and says, all right, I'm not going to give you the cure until you bring me my wife back.
Yep. And you say, homie, don't play that.
Yep.
And then you bonk him on the head like Homie the Clown. And then you fight him. And this is the best boss fight in the series and one of my favorite boss fights of all time.
Yeah.
Top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before me and Cole do our tight 10 or whatever on it, where are you at on this, Doug? Are you with us on this, or are you like, this boss fight sucks and you guys are idiots?
No, this is a masterclass. I imagine this is the kind of thing where if you take a video game design courses, they would point to this and go, this is how you do it. It incorporates so many things that you sort of see in other like kind of classic boss fight things, and then sort of reinterpolates them. So you have what would normally be like a multi-phase boss fight where like, well, first you have to do this to, you'll hurt him with this. And once you finish, you sneak up on him and you kick him in the back of the head. Okay. Then you're going to use the electro gadget on him. And then you're going to use this gadget. And instead what they do is they give you this room and they turn you loose with all of these different methods at your disposal of coming at Mr. Freeze, and they let you pick and choose which one you want, and then they build on that with the added caveat of like, well, each time you use one, you won't be able to use it again. So you have to figure that out. And beyond that, they finally tune this room to an absolute T that it wouldn't work if this room was any bigger or any smaller, and Mr. Freeze's movement was any faster or any slower.
Yeah, he's a really important part of this as a thing. Like definitely, like I was going to mention the room size, so I'm glad you caught that. And then just the slow inevitability of Freeze is a really interesting boss fight. Mm-hmm. Like it's not quite like my instinct is to call it a stealth boss fight, but that's only kind of true. Because it's everything you do for him, you do have to do it by surprise, but it's not all stealth. Like some of the tactics are more, ambushes or just using the environment against him. And they're all things that you do so I think a lesser game, what they would do is you would have like if it was Zelda, you'd have a level, and in this dungeon, you get the bat gel, and then the boss fight, you use the bat gel, and that's it. Instead, the entire game kind of functions as the dungeon to train you to use all these toys, and then it's like use any 5 that you want.
Yeah,
you just can't repeat. So here's your imagination, or use your imagination. You have to use at least 5 of these things, and the entire game has been training you up until this point. Yeah. It's like this. It's like the best Zelda boss that's ever been done.
We make this point a lot, and it's not original, but the idea that a final boss fight ought to function as a quiz over, it ought to test you on things that you learn throughout the game. That holds true. And here, like what this is doing is saying like, all right, so you think you know how to be Batman, do you?
Yeah.
Like how much have you been paying attention? Like, can you read this space while this kind of slow march of doom is walking toward you, and following you around and, pressing you to think situationally in a way that you haven't had to, probably because maybe you have been using the same tactic all the time. Maybe you've been leaning on one or two of these throughout here. And the fact that Mr. Freeze is constantly evolving, it gives you the sense that he is, that the developers thought of everything, right? That TV tropes thing. Like, there is so much unique dialogue recorded for this. What I love is it is Batman basically going up against Batman's own strengths, which is, Batman could defeat anybody with enough preparation. Like Mr. Freeze in this, like in this universe, he is an incredibly smart dude who, like Batman, is using, science and engineering and technology to be prepared for everything. He is prepared for everything that you are going to do. Right. So thematically, it feels incredibly satisfying to go up against somebody who is adjusting their tactics to the way that you fight.
Yeah.
And I think what you said about over-reliance is really important because, like, if you're the kind of person that's like, all right, I'm going to get under those floor grates, wait for him to, stand over me, and then hit the triangle button and take him down, they'll let you do it once, but only once. So whatever tactics you've been, like, over-relying on the entire game, they're not going to let you get away with just that.
Yeah. So the way that it ends up kind of working, so for people who don't know this boss fight, is that he marches around looking for you, and eventually we'll send out little drones to look for you. And anything you do will tell him where you're at. Yeah. Like if you shoot the drones out of the sky, that's information too, right? That doesn't actually thwart the drones. And as he's doing so, you walk around this arena, and you have to stealth hit him. You have to hit him without him knowing. And there are, I think, 16 different ways to do it. Because eventually you'll get a little piece of a little pop-up will tell you different ways to do it. And it does that. Like, it's not like, you're not doing it, so it's going to give them to you. Like, it actually just does it. Eventually you get these things.
Yeah. It's presented as intel. Like the back computer is saying, like, these are all of the flaws in Mr. Freeze's suit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you go through and then you exploit them. So these can be things as obvious as just sneaking up behind him. But it can also be blowing up a wall near him. And they have like these little pseudoscience explanations that are really great. Like Freeze's suit is armored against blows, but hundreds of tiny blows will overwhelm the defense system. Mm-hmm. So like the kind of thing that would happen from rubble. Yeah. Or, hey, you idiot, he just gave you the jamming thing for his gun. Remember that? You can jam his gun, things like that. And the difficulty setting that you're playing the game on determines how many of these you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're playing on easy, you only have to do 3. Medium is 5, and then I think hard is 9. 9 or 7.
Yeah.
And it's really tense. Like as he gets better, and you have to kind of push yourself through things. It's just really good. And when you said this is the one that makes have you been Batman? Not only is this the boss fight that does that, the boss fights that come later don't really do that.
No.
The final boss fight is much closer to the Ra's al Ghul Sandman fight.
And it's funny because this game has a reputation for having like much better bosses, like, oh yeah, I think about Arkham City. I think of, oh yeah, really good bosses, really thoughtful. No, it is just that Mr. Freeze looms so large that its goodwill overwrites everything.
Yeah. This is and it does have better boss fights than the last game.
Yeah.
Like part of it is definitely giving that grading on the curve because Asylum had miserable boss fights.
Mm-hmm.
But these are extremely good.
Yeah.
And these are much better. I mean, this is extremely good. They are better on average.
Yeah.
I love this boss fight. All-time fave.
I am. So while we've been talking, I've been paying attention, but also I'm flipping through these really annoying slideshow articles. I just did a search on Google, best boss fights in video games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So of the entire first page of results, only one of these on whatculture.com lists Mr. Freeze as one of the best boss fights in video games.
That's a bummer.
That's kind of stunning. I would assume he would have been on every list.
Yeah. It also lists Deathstroke as well. Lower than this, but
yeah, Deathstroke's very good.
Yeah.
What else is on those lists where they don't have the Mr. Freeze? What are these idiots like? What are these fools like?
It's a lot of stuff where like it's story significant. So they say, oh, Lavos and Chrono Trigger is one of the best boss fights of all time. Like, okay, not really. Like
yeah,
it's important in the story, but I think maybe you just really like Chrono Trigger and you like the final boss of games that you like.
Yeah, that's always a thing in people considering games, right?
Yeah,
like you just this is the thing. This is the team I'm rooting for.
This was very satisfying because I liked this game a lot.
Yeah, but there's like nothing to Lavos as far as a fight goes.
Right. It's just multiple phases and stuff.
Yeah, there's no combat tricks in Chrono Trigger. Like it's not the type of game it is.
Right.
Yeah. So, this instead is sublime.
Mm-hmm.
And it all ends up being kind of for naught. After you take him out, you beat him up, you pummel his face, which because you have Joker blood, his face turns into Joker for a second, foreshadowing your Joker hallucinations in the next game.
Oh, yeah.
And he comes to his senses, or just realizes he's defeated.
Right.
He's practical, and he says, you have to get go get Nora. We do have a vial of the cure. I'll cure you so you can get Nora. And he opens up, and Harley had stole it through the back of the safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and she's probably taking it back to the Joker's lair back in the steel mill. To aid you, Mr. Freeze gives you his freeze charges. So these are ice grenades.
Mm-hmm. And this is the only gadget I use for the rest of the game.
They're so overpowered.
Yeah, I think these are really overpowered. But just really they accomplish most of the things other gadgets do.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just want to stun somebody for a little while, but you can spam them, and if you spam them on enemies, then they will. It takes them out for a little while.
Yeah,
which is very useful.
Yeah, they don't seem to be limited in any way.
Yeah. They're also the way you do one of the most famous Easter eggs in this game. If you spam these, you climb like a pixel every time you throw one, and then sink back down. But if you do it fast enough, you won't sink back down. So you float up into the air and you can get above the patrols of the tiger things and fly out of Arkham City. Which allows you to go over to where Arkham Asylum is, where they modeled it. It's not perfect. It doesn't have texture collision, but you can fly around Arkham Asylum, like a little small scale version of Arkham Asylum they made.
Oh, neat.
This, which is super neat. This has a great, there's like a Out of Bounds YouTube channel called Boundary Breakers or Boundary Breaking. And that's the episode on Arkham City is wonderful.
Yeah.
Cause anyone can do it. I did it when I first played the game. Like it's just tapping that grenade button.
Mm-hmm.
So
this game, getting back to that Easter egg thing, there's one other one that like appears on like the list of like, holy shit, can you believe these Easter eggs? And it's the Calendar Man one. Have you seen that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you set your game clock to the day that Rocksteady Studios was founded, which was obviously years and years before this game came out, so why would you do that? If you visit Calendar Man, he has some dialogue that I think hints towards the events of Arkham Knight. Something about apocalyptic talk, which is kind of remarkable that they would bother to put stuff like that in this game.
Yeah. I mean, it is harkening back to when they put when they basically said, "Here's what Arkham City is going to be in Arkham Asylum."
Right.
Like,
it's been a
other
while
things
since.
very clearly allude to where they're going in Arkham Knight. There's that boat that you can get inside. That there's all these like scarecrow stuff. Yeah. There's that one.
Is there anything? I haven't played Arkham. I've only played Arkham Knight once. Is there anything in Arkham Knight that hints towards is that kind of future casting?
And I don't know. I did start a replay of Arkham Knight because I was kind of curious to see how things from this game got iterated on in the next one. I don't know that I've encountered anything that alludes towards a future thing, but as we're recording this, I've been noticing, I was doing a little internet research, that Rocksteady is set to announce whatever their new thing is relatively soon.
Probably at E3. It's like in a month. Yeah.
And the rumor that I've seen is that it is something else. It's called like Outlaws, and that it is something tied into this Arkham universe, but that could be chaff. I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
There have been tons of rumors about what they're making. Like they were talking about an Avengers game that they might have been making. Like just lots of people are, there's been scuttlebutt, but
I think there was a talk of a Superman thing too, because in Arkham Knight, if you go to listen to Batman's voice messages, there's one in there from Lex Luthor. But yeah, again, no concrete. This could all, by the time this episode comes out, they could have announced it. It's that soon.
Supposedly. Yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, they are looking on their website. They are hiring up right now. They've posted tons of job listings on Twitter and on their website. So something's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're listening, break your NDA. Tell us. Get fired for your buddies, Gary and Cole and Doug. Please don't get fired.
Please don't.
So he gives you those freeze grenades. What these do is they obviously it's like ice, a big puff of ice stuff.
Yeah.
And the utility thing is to freeze bits of water to create platforms, which is, again, I don't love that mechanic actually in this game.
Yeah.
But the way better thing is how it affects goons.
Yeah. They tutorialize it, like to get out, you have to pass through a hallway that is blocked up by steam tunnels.
Oh, that's
like
the
broken
other thing
steam pipes. Yeah, it'll block that, but it's really just it's a key for a door that will hurt you. Yeah.
Yeah, the iceberg thing, the little iceberg thing is almost exclusively used for Riddler trophies.
Right.
Riddler trophies and one section of the steel mill.
Extremely cursed.
Yeah. So when you get outside, one of Joker's men uses a rocket launcher to shoot down Vicky Vale's helicopter.
Yeah, her newscopter, which in the autocorrect.
That's a very good autocorrect, Cole. In the notes it says Vicky Vale's new scooter.
No, my new scooter.
So she's got a Vespa, and somebody hits her with a rocket launcher, and you rescue her.
Yeah.
My Vespa crashed because it got hit by a rocket launcher.
I'm very sorry.
I was like, you didn't do autocorrect.
Yeah. I didn't design it. No. But you have to get a rescuer from snipers. There have been snipers around, obviously, but this kind of starts, some of these out in the world encounters where you have to take out the snipers without any of the other ones knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like these. I think by and large, these are really successful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I like snipers in this game because they have those long laser sights.
Mm-hmm.
So and we'll get to it, but the actual final encounter with them before the Joker is really great. Mm-hmm. Like a little puzzle box of order of operations of which sniper to take out first.
Yeah.
Love sniping in games. Love taking out snipers in games.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, when there are snipers about, like I'm into it.
And when there aren't snipers, I'm asking, where are the snipers?
And give me some snipers.
Yeah.
Need snipers.
Yeah.
Missing snipers.
Then you see a glint off a lens in the distance, and then boom, you're down.
Yeah, I'm just with a big
hear the
smile.
shot.
Yeah, I just fall down on my back, grinning, ear to ear, going out doing what I loved, being sniped.
You're making it sound like a fetish.
Yeah, snipe me, Daddy. Yeah, fool me with your snipies. So now is a good time to take a little break to go into side quests.
Right.
So I don't recommend anyone play the game this way.
Yeah, don't just like chug a lug all these toward the end. We're not going to go into too much detail on these unless they're really cool, and there are some that are really cool.
Like the flavor of them is worth talking about. The mechanics of all of them are hot and cold, or like scavenger hunt or whatever.
Yeah. And
you go to a place and you fight some guys. Like doing these all in a row, which I didn't do in either playthrough, but I watched them all in a row on this one because I didn't do them all for this playthrough. Does not lend them strength.
No.
Like because they do come off as very samey. So kind of moving through them, we talked about earlier Zaz. This is the series of phones that ring throughout the city, and when you answer, he taunts you and he's doing this game where he's got phones very encrypted, so you can't track him. He's calling these phones where there's a victim, and you have to get there within a certain time to save the victim. Zsasz is a weird Batman villain to me because his gimmick is that he's just a straight up fucking like Hannibal Lecter style like serial killer.
Yeah.
Like he's a Thomas Harris villain. He's not like a Batman villain.
Right.
He needs a gimmick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his gimmick is that he carves the name of all of his victims into his skin.
He carves a hash mark.
A hash mark.
Hash mark. There we go.
And then you get his backstory. This whole thing when he calls you is all about his backstory.
Right.
And him kind of snapping, his parents dying, him being very rich, losing the fortune, and then wanting to get revenge on Penguin. And killing and stuff. But you eventually track him down and actually take him out.
Right. For the second time. Like
Yep.
he was weirdly your combat tutorial or your sneaking tutorial in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
Something that happens right here when you finish the Vicky Vale side quest is also, I think, maybe the best of these, which is the Mad Hatter one.
Yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, because you get a call from Alfred saying, "We developed a cure. It works perfectly, and there's enough for everybody. So come to this particular location."
Yep. And Alfred would never do Batman's trick.
No.
So I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
And when you go there, you're drugged. And you wake up on a desk or on a tea party rather, at this thing where you've had a hat put on you from the Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter is like one of the, I like the Mad Hatter a lot as a villain, a Batman villain. The way that he works is he puts little tiny electronics in hat rims, which is very silly.
Yeah.
Like he makes mind control derbies and stuff. But he makes one of those for Batman. And then you try to fight it off. And the way this is shown is just you fighting people in masks on a gigantic, like the intro to the Twilight Zone.
Yes. On a clock.
Like on a big spinning clock.
Yeah.
While your head is Frank the Bunny or whatever from Donnie Darko.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he makes you, and then, so you just fight them off for a while. It's just regular goon combat until you get to the end and you punch a Mad Hatter. And then you wake up and you see that he's arranged this little tea party of corpses around you. Like they're all dead. And you just escape the house he put you in.
Yeah.
And it's really neat to kind of like look around this house and stuff. Really cool.
Yeah, it's good stuff. If if you were missing Scarecrow's presence here, then Mad Hatter gives you a little slice of it. Yeah.
Yep. What else is good? There's one with Bane, which is has a kind of a cute ending, but the way this articulates, I don't love. He says, "Hey, there's some canisters in the city of Titan. Titan is this weird holy thing to me. So I don't want criminals getting it. You obviously don't want them. So let's split up. You take 6, I take 6. And throughout the game in various areas, there'll be Bane canisters. You blow them up until eventually you go to Bane to check on him. The way Batman says that, you say is, I should go check in on Bane, see how he's doing, which I think is very funny.
Yeah.
Just like, how you doing, big guy? Bane, all right.
Status update.
Yeah, status update. It gets complicated. Oh, Bane, buddy. When you get there, a bunch of people ambush you for things. And the cool part is you get this little fun fight where you get to fight along with Bane, which is cool. But then, of course, Bane betrays you. But then, of course, Batman knew that was going to happen and betrays Bane.
Right. So just like with everything with Batman, it all ends up where it started.
Lie.
Yeah.
Yep. And everything with Batman is a dirty lie.
Yep.
Yeah.
What sticks out for you, for you, Doug?
Well, out of the ones you have left on this list, I do like the Shot in the Dark, Watcher in the Wings, and Identity Theft in terms of their tone. But the way they articulate is all three of these are playing a game of Where's Waldo in Arkham City, where you have to basically spot a corpse amongst all of either the detritus, or you have to go into detective mode and look for a skeleton that's not moving, or like in Azrael's case that he's standing still on a rooftop. And like, I'm playing this on a PS4 on a pretty sizable TV, and like, it's still impossible you just have to luck into either finding where these things are or get a fac and do it, which is a shame, because I think once you actually do some of these things, the Deadshot one's okay. You find all these different murder victims and you go through the detective mode, kind of like you did at the very beginning of the game with the sniper shot from the steeple from Joker. I always like going into detective mode and doing those things, and they lead you back to him, but then you eventually just kind of sneak up on him and take him out from underneath. That's not bad. The identity theft one is, and the other one they're all kind of the same. You find a body, you find more bodies, and when you find enough of them, then you get a cutscene.
Yeah. The kind of the flavor of them is Deadshot has a list. He was hired by Strange to murder certain people to cover Strange's tracks. And you eventually find his itinerary to kind of cut him off. Watcher in the Wings is Azrael, who is testing you. Azrael is a fairly obscure Batman character. Who he's like a member of a Templar order of kind of Batman, essentially, and he's watching you to test you. And then when you get to him, he doesn't really test you. He just says, the time is coming. And you say, I don't believe in fairy tales. He goes, it doesn't matter what you believe. I've delivered my message. I'm like, man, you could have fucking texted.
You didn't have to wait around on rooftops like the G-Man, just looking
the entire night. Like, is this not boring for you? Why are you not looking at your phone? And then identity theft is somebody, Bruce Wayne, going and killing all these people. And this is, I like the way this turns out. It's really creepy. You end up eventually finding out that this is your buddy, this Elliot, this Dr. Elliot, who used to be a doctor who has made a version of your face. This is Hush, is that character. That was a fairly modern comic at the time this came out. So this was one of the more modern things that's not from deep Batman history. And he has this like stitched together Bruce Wayne face of finding like the parts of other people's faces that look like Bruce Wayne's and stitching them together. Like really pretty great. There's a good version of this in Arkham Knight with the pig. That's pretty great. That reminds me of this.
And Hush himself does appear in Arkham Knight again. He does the same thing Azrael does, which is like, I'm going to say something cryptic. See you in the next game.
Yep. So those are all real good flavor, but they're just, if you're playing them as the game goes on, you do break up the pace. As you mentioned,
like you'll get distress calls from people. And you go and kind of start these and then chase them down as your appetite demands.
Yeah. Oddly enough, again, out of these, if it weren't for so many trophies, the Riddler one is probably the best. Because every so many Riddler trophies you find, you get the Enigma box, which again gets you a clue to a location. You go there and you find that Riddler has imprisoned somebody in some kind of at least I think decently interesting way. Like there's one where you have to use your scanner. There's like a three card Monte game with a hostage where he's behind a door, and if you pick, no matter what you pick, he will roast the hostage. But if you turn on your detective mode, you can see that Riddler secretly drops him underneath the system, and you can see that he's trying to cheat on you. So you catch him cheating, and then you pick the right person. He goes, "No, how did you figure that out?" And
don't you know everything about?
They're all pretty different in the way they articulate, so they're kind of nice. And then the last one, which is kind of funny, is that he has all of these people that are marching along with, like, those things that like kids have. They're like a little like it looks like they're pushing a little lawnmower, and it's got a bubble in it, and it like pops and makes noise.
Oh yeah, man.
We're pushing like electrified versions of these along lines, and like it being like if they stop moving or if they stop walking along this line, it will shock them to death. And this is the last one where you sneak in there, you take out Riddler, and it ends with you just like hooking him to one of these and like basically saying, "Go, you have fun."
You actually put you put him in the hands of Cash, who is in this game. This is just 2019, Gary speaking, but like the cops are really lionized in the Batman universe in general. A lot of the prisoners talk about how Cash beat the crap out of them when they were in jail and how they're going to get revenge. And it's like, this probably wasn't good for that cop to beat the crap out of prisoners who are already in prison.
Yeah, it's
and with Riddler here, you give him the little thing, you give him the device, which won't work. You're not giving Cash the power to kill the Riddler, but you decide to let him torture the Riddler for a while.
Yeah.
Like you say like, hey, he's like, you better walk, Riddler. And the Riddler starts walking. And he's like, you sure this thing won't work, Batman? He's like, no, it won't work. But he doesn't know that. So basically just saying like, hey, cop, torture this criminal for a while. Like, it's not just putting him in jail.
Pretty fucked up.
It's a little fucked up. It is just desserts because the Riddler's obnoxious. But at the same time, like, I don't know. Cops torturing criminals.
Yeah. It's probably not for the greater good to encourage that behavior in a corrections officer.
Batman. Yeah. I learned it from you, Batman. I learned it from you.
Yeah.
The There's a couple of them that are just kind of non-entities as well. You can get the loose end of grabbing Mr. Freeze's wife. There's a thing where some of the people, if you want to go back into the Iceberg Lounge where you fought Penguin, the cops that you unlock there have found a piece of equipment for you, an upgrade. It's presented as a side quest, but it's really just, you want to go get this upgrade.
Yeah. And there are cameos, like we talked about Calendar Man. You can find him, come back to him on particular days, and he says different stuff. Or more likely, just reset your system clock and come back to him. Additionally, I liked this one. You can, when you're in the sewers, take a wrong turn, and when you open up a particular door, Killer Croc slams you down and menaces you. But he says, "Oh, you're sick, so I don't have to kill you. I just have to wait for you to die, and then I can eat your corpse." And then he just kind of leaves you alone.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah.
And that's them.
Yep.
I think it's cool. Like I said, they are low level patina over everything. That's how they're meant to be played, and played as such, they're actually really good. But instead, we're going to the mill, which has been flooded now. So we have to use that freeze blast to create these ice platforms to drag ourselves around on. Again, I don't really like this.
No,
it's slow.
There's like current in these, and it is kind of drawing you toward these drills that will bust up the platforms. And frustratingly, there is one section where you've got the water is going around this kind of S curve in the hallways. Everything up to this point has led you to believe, okay, well, this is ice platform territory. I'm floating on this. When in reality, what you have to do is get on solid ground and use your line launcher, because the platforms will not take you there. Will not take you the way you need to go, which is the first time I played this, I was stuck on this for a long time because I forgot the line launcher existed. Yeah. But that may just be my experience.
Yep. As you continue down, you eventually get down to a few thug offs. Fighting some thugs. Joker appears on a screen and he's looking good.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, he took the cure, of course, which we know did not happen. And he orders his men to get their weapons and get ready for a jailbreak. Essentially, right. As you're kind of making your way through, you get these overheads. You hear about this plan advancing.
Yes. Yeah. You round a corner, and the doctor, the intern that you found before, she tries to swing a pipe at you. No, doesn't work. And Batman knew it was not a threat. She's been holed up here, and she says, yeah, this place is mined. Like, they've got all these mines around here. And this introduces or heavily leans on new enemies in the Predator sections who will leave proximity mines around.
Yep. Good to take out before they can leave a lot of them around.
Yeah. There's another one of these that we didn't talk about earlier. You've got it introduces enemies who will jam your detective vision.
Oh, yeah. You can see them when you go into detective vision. So once you take them out.
Yeah.
But you're kind of flying blind up until that point.
No.
Like a bat. Yeah. So what else here? When you get to the Joker's lair, we see Joker, he's all scabby again. And then turns around and is fine. And we're like, well, something's going on.
Yeah.
And then he hires all this help. And this is my favorite clue in the game about what's going on, is if you switch to detective vision at any point in this, Joker doesn't have a skeleton.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. I got it now.
Okay.
I think there are other subtle visual cues in terms of the difference between the healthy Joker and the sick Joker as well. I forget what they are, but I know that somewhere online, I'm sure someone's posted like the flower has, slightly fewer petals or something on it. There's, he's not quite a perfect duplicate.
Yeah, I'm positive there's something in the there's something in the outfit. But at this point, it's a little bit like in Resident Evil 6 with the two Adas. It's like,
oh, sure.
It's like, I know you think that you're tricking me, game, but
I'm untrickable.
I'm not untrickable. It's just this is baby town frolics.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be tricked by this.
Yeah.
Not in a million years.
You got to wake up pretty early, RE6.
I got tricked by
it.
So this is a big fight here. Lots of dudes, and it keeps ramping up. Like eventually, a Titan fella pops in there. There's the other arm guy comes through, and there are two roller coaster tracks running through this as well that are kind of a boon. I was using that freeze grenade a lot, and you freeze somebody on the roller coaster thing, and they get hit.
Yeah,
by it. So that's really great.
Yep. And they no longer have pelvises. They have to get replacement pelvises.
Yep. Which as a Batman, that's appealing to me. Like, I invested a lot of money in big pelvis. So, big bat hip replacements.
This fight ends with basically this whole building kind of collapsing, or at least the roof. Batman is kind of incapacitated under this debris. Joker's about to finish him when Talia comes in. He says, hey, let me offer you a trade. Don't kill Batman now, and I will give you the secret to immortality. And as she walks away, she points to a tracker on her lapel saying, follow your heart. Yeah. And then Bruce says, I need to save her. She doesn't know who she's dealing with. Like she is more in control of the situation than you are, Batman.
Yeah. That's Batman's whole deal.
Yeah.
Like he's a real bat-splainer.
And to be fair, I think you know enough about the man in the scary clown suit to not trust him.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like a straight shooter.
Yeah. I'm not going to give him power of attorney.
No.
Oh man, attorney Joker? I'm into attorney Joker. Yeah. If you have the DLC or if you bought the game recently, we now have a Catwoman scene to explain how she gets there. This is very assignment Ada.
Yes.
Just to kind of show Catwoman, because Catwoman shows up in the main game just to save you. This is how she got there. And this is my favorite Catwoman part, is her invading the Tiger facility.
Yeah.
Where they keep all their handhelds.
Yeah.
And when you
sorry, it took me a minute. That was a way home.
So they call it the R zone, right?
Yeah. The R zone where they hold their Tiger handhelds. So she's negotiating with Ivy, and Ivy's mad because like, hey, you didn't water my plants, but Tiger took one of my plants. You can go save it in Strange's vault. And you're like, okay, I'll do it. And you break into this place and you get this like pretty great little stealth section with these guys with this different moveset that is cool because crawling on the ceiling feels very different.
Yes.
Than being on gargoyles.
Yeah.
Here.
Just the geometry is catered to her moveset. So like instead of being a big open arena like the other Predator sections, this is like a series of hallways. So, you are waiting for the patrols to, waiting for them to go on patrol and isolate themselves and taking them down. And they raise the stakes by, this whole area will be sealed off if any of them spot you.
Yeah.
So you have to do this perfectly.
Yeah. Fun stuff. After you get there, when you get inside the vault, you see the Orchid just destroy it because Poison Ivy is bonkers. And this plant is dumb. And then you fight some of Strange's men, and you're leaving with your stuff, your briefcase full of cool secrets. And you get a little choice you hear Strange announce that they have Batman. So it's like, well, I can escape Arkham City with the loot, or I can go save Batman.
If you escape Arkham City, there's a non-standard game over because Batman dies.
Yeah. That's genius to put that in there to like give you at least the illusion of that choice.
Illusion of choice. There's also a really clever thing. So because it's like a military facility, there's signage and stuff. The two different ways you can go have diegetic arrows on the floor.
Red and green. Yeah.
Red and green. Like the green one lets the game keep going. The red one ends the game.
Nope.
And they're part of the level. So there's this little which one do I choose? It's pretty neat. Yeah. Very clever. But of course you go for Batman and you rescue him from the rubble.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Protocol 10, baby.
Yeah. Protocol 10.
Master plan.
Our master plan. Maybe some missiles and shit.
Yep.
Genocide.
Yep. Kill everyone in town. Yeah. In the explodiest way possible. Protocol 10.
Which is crazy. If you think about the thing that triggers Protocol 10 on the surface is that, the inmates have gotten a hold of guns, which of course Strange supplied them, but the inmates have a hold of guns. The situation's got so out of control that the only thing we can do is kill them. But he's been counting this down for like 10 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you gave them the guns days ago. So what were you waiting for?
Well, and it would have been really cool to see one of the big things that's like missing from this game, and it's fine because it's a fun comic book game and it doesn't matter. But I would have loved to have seen that subtext made explicit in terms of his like PR, because even I know I talked about this at the beginning of the episode, but at no point did I ever feel like, the average citizen is going to buy this bullshit.
No.
And I definitely didn't think the average citizen was going to deal with them just like leveling the city blocks full of criminals. Like, even if they are criminals, you know, like Gotham's hard on crime, but give me a break, right?
Yeah.
So him explaining it, like if every time we learned about him, you know, planting weapons or fermenting this like kind of gang war, we had like maybe Vicky Vale, we'd overhear a Vicky Vale broadcast where, you know, she was interviewing him, you know, because he's a public figure.
Yeah.
Like he's the guy who runs it, interviewing him and him just saying like, you know, it's gotten out of control. We've done our best, et cetera, like really sell the lie. You know,
and the plan is, as we're about to find out, is to franchise this to other cities.
Yeah.
So
which
in theory,
is really
this should
weird.
not be a public relations disaster. They're thinking that this is a success that other people will want to copy.
Yeah. They're gonna take this to Bloodhaven and Emerald City and shit.
Yeah.
Right. Like, hey, Metropolis, you know how that entire plan went to shit? You want to give it a try?
Exactly. Like, hey, Land of Superman, do you think we can just summarily execute all your criminals for you? You know, Superman's gonna be fine for that, right?
Yeah.
Lex Luthor's gonna be fine for that, right? Like Lex Luthor is gonna be fine with losing all his henchmen.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty dumb plan. Gotta say, it's less asinine than the plan in Night, which it was pretty asinine.
I forget what the plan was, and we don't need to spoil it, but
it's a villainous plan. It's not
an episode on that.
Yeah, it says someday. Like I'd be down, like because the things it does. It's not like a torture to play it. It's just I don't think it's very good overall, but it's not torture. But it's like a villainous plan, so it's not meant to be a public relations thing. But it does have a lot of holes in it.
Yeah,
as an idea. So
yep. So,
but it's cool that the city turns to you know, a place where it's just raining fire on everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Now there are bombs.
Yes. There are helicopters, and I don't understand why Batman believes that one of these helicopters is going to have the master control program.
And only one of them.
Only one.
Yeah, to get in. So you have to kind of jump from helicopter to helicopter, scanning them to find the right one, while avoiding the other helicopters.
Yeah, I don't care for this. It's weird, and it's not like it's difficult. It's just tedious.
It's a little tedious.
Yeah.
There's also a weird choice here that like Batman at one point says like, well, I should go save Talia, and Alfred says like, Master Bruce, they're going to kill thousands of people. You should probably be more concerned with that. Yeah. And he has to like talk him into it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just Batman, what he'll do for his girlfriends.
Yeah.
As like a theme of this.
Alfred solves the trolley problem for Batman. No.
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
one person versus thousands upon thousands of people.
Yeah, it's an ultra trolley.
It's not a hard trolley problem to solve.
Yeah, Snowpiercer is coming down the tracks and is going to plow through thousands of people. It's a big trolley.
Yeah.
When you get in, we're introduced to another enemy type. These are the ones that have stun batons. These guys are such pains in the asses in Asylum. Introducing them late in this game really works for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't like dealing with them very much.
No, I don't like an enemy that hurts you when you punch them.
Yeah. It's not very interesting.
No.
Yeah.
So guards eventually surround you as you're fighting your way in. Strange addresses me over the screen saying like, hey, Gotham's corruption is all your fault. Pulling the whole Heath Ledger Joker idea that you escalated this so hard. How does it feel that everything that is wrong with this city is your fault?
Well, there's something to that too.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like those villains would not be in Gotham City if it wasn't for Batman. That's
right.
The interesting stuff about Batman that is explored sometimes in the comics, but not as often as I would like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounded like I was being dismissive, but it's just because I don't like Hugo Strange, which is a good thing for a villain, I suppose. So
yeah, he's got that bad beard.
Yeah, he's got that Amish beard
and the Henry Kissinger voice.
Yeah, nobody does the Abe Lincoln. Yeah, Kissinger voice, Amish beard. Like, there's really nothing to like. Like, nobody, nobody's hot for Strange. When you go into town, you say you're gonna get a little piece of Strange. You're not talking about Hugo Strange.
No,
you want Steven.
Yeah,
you want Steven. You want Benedict Cumberbatch. He's talking about this. He says like, when the plan goes through, I'll take my place at my master's side. And you're like, huh? And what's that? You've got a master. You make your way past these guys. You get under Wonder Tower where he's at. This is my. You've got to note as a bear. This is actually my favorite combat arena of the game.
Oh yeah.
This Space Needle. kind of thing, where he's in the middle of the panopticon, and because you have all these different options you usually don't have. Like
this is the one at the base. I love the one at the top. The one at the base of the tower was the problem for me.
Okay, I maybe don't remember which one, what this one was.
Yeah, you've been there before. It's on the way to Wonder City, and I don't know what the problem specifically for you, Cole, was, but I felt like the architecture is designed in such a way to really restrict your freedom of movement. So where you want to like be able to glide around or move laterally, it's a fairly vertical space. Yeah. So it's a little hard to like get around and behind people to take them out.
There's a good deal of kind of like let's say substructure to this as well. So like when you're up in Predator space, there are like hallways and walkways down below where it feels like tons of enemies are. So it is a problem of the geometry, like Doug has said, but also a lot of enemies, and this is kind of the most mine heavy they get as well. It's just a bunch of stuff kind of coming together. It is not as interesting as when you're up on the needle. So
I remember which one it is now, I think, and it's not great.
Climbing up Wonder Tower is cool because you're going high. You're going so high, like you're even above the flight lines of the helicopters. But you get up there, you hear about the plan to franchise the Arkham City kind of concept, right? And you ride the elevator the rest of the way, and you fake out some guards who expect you to come out of the elevator. And then you get this final Predator section up on the observation deck with Strange in the fishbowl, the panopticon in the middle. This is really good because instead of being a concave arena, it's convex. So when you want to escape and when you want to go gargoyle to gargoyle, you're actually going outside the observation deck, and then swooping in through the balconies and stuff. Yeah.
And there's ways to get in from outside, get into the vents. Balloons. So there's just a lot of angles of ingress.
Yeah.
At this point. This is my favorite Predator section of the game.
It's really good.
Yep. Once you get in, you pummel Strange, and he's like, "Well, I've already won." He's gloating over his success and everything, kind of. But unfortunately, his master takes him out.
Yeah. A sword explodes through his chest.
Yep. And who is it? But Ra's al Ghul, Liam Neeson.
Oh, back again.
Yep. It's mess with the Batman.
I was a little bit bummed out by this reveal because I felt like I already dealt with him, and nothing, it didn't seem like anything was really going on with Ra's aside from the succession kind of stuff.
Well, here's the thing, right? What if you had said yes to the succession?
Yeah.
What if you abandoned Strange and just been like, okay, you're the new Strange?
Yeah. I don't know.
You can kind of argue it like, oh, he knew Batman would never do it.
Right.
And stuff. But that's never been Ra's character. Like, the reason why he's interested in Batman is because Batman's the best man for the job.
Yeah.
There's no way Hugo Strange is the best man for the job.
No.
So it's just kind of weird that Ra's al Ghul is like putting a bet on both these ponies. And you kind of deal with him halfway through. At the same time, it would have been very weird if at the very end, like, oh, it's Ra's al Ghul, we haven't seen him yet.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been a little strange too. So I don't know exactly what the answer is.
Yeah.
For this, but it is a little bit weird. It's less successful than the Joker stuff, I think.
Yeah, the Joker is the centerpiece to this, and is the thing that I remembered the most about when I left this. How does the reveal of Ra's being the mastermind of this square for you, Doug?
It squares in that, it is a very Ra's plan. You look at like his plan in Batman Begins, for example, and it's like, no, my plan is to just bring down city by city from their decadence. So it fits. What I do think is kind of interesting that you sort of just alluded to is that the Joker has his entire plot going on mostly independently. Like all these characters, like, I don't know what Protocol 10 is. It's not important to me.
Yeah.
And yet that sort of that is the climax, that like you have prevented 4/5 of a genocide.
Yeah.
And you've done all of these things, and yet the thing that kind of like brings this to a close, as we're about to see, is you versus the Joker, as it should be, I suppose.
Right.
But you're right. As a reveal, it's a little like, oh yeah, well, of course it's Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just an interesting. It's fine. It doesn't become much of a thing after this. Like, we just dispense with him at this point. We still have his daughter, but like the fact that this is introduced and also dealt with right away. too. Like, there's not even a fight.
There's no fight.
Yeah. You know? So
this would have been a good place maybe for that duel you were talking about with him, like on the top of the tower or something.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Just like a cut scene. As Strange is dying, and Strange is like, "Oh, you betrayed me, you promised me, etc." He activates Protocol 11. It's like, "Oh, I thought there was only going to be 10 of those." But 11 is blowing up his tower. And I keep thinking, like, does Strange name everything a protocol? Like, when he brushes his teeth, is he like, "Now time for Protocol 23?" And then just, like, starts brushing his teeth, and then, like, goes and takes Protocol 24, which is a shit. And then, like, makes himself a mac and cheese, which is Protocol 34, you know?
Right.
Like, everything's a protocol.
Orderly man.
Yes.
He's very orderly.
But yeah, Batman tries to save Ra's. You know, you're flying out of there, but Ra's tries to stab Batman by stabbing his sword through himself, causing Batman to, you know, separate. And then, you know, Ra's is not just impaled through the chest by a sword, but he falls onto, you know, a spiked accent on a building. Yeah, which Batman isn't too torn up about. He says he's probably going to need a trip to his pit, so he'll be fine.
Which he is.
Yeah.
If you like seeing Ra's al Ghul impaled, you will like this game.
If you go back to the spot where he is impaled later, he is gone, but the sword is still there.
Ooh.
And he does make an appearance in a DLC for Arkham Knight, so he made it.
Can't keep Ra's down.
Yep, can't keep a good Ra's down. Unfortunately, there's the dangling aspect of the Joker and Ra's daughter as well. So Joker appears on a big screen and he says, hey me, I'm still me. I've got Talia hostage. I'm at the theater. Come on over. Mm-hmm. And this is the cool sniper challenge I like, where there are just this absurd number of snipers and you have to manage their sight lines and you know, take them out in a proper order. Yeah, which I really appreciate.
When I walked up, I literally thought that he just had it set up to be like a laser light show, faking me out to think that it was a like snipers. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to walk in, and then boom, 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 boom. There I go.
Yeah. An ignoble end to the bat.
Thought it was a laser light show.
Yeah. I thought it was a laser light show, Alfred. Robin, you'll have to be Batman now. Okay, Chief.
But this is but this is at what is it, the Monarch Theater? Like, if you go here, you can actually see the chalk outlines.
The crime alley.
Yeah, in the alley behind the theater.
With the impressive chalk outlines to last for 30 years.
Oh yeah, Batman keeps like re-upping him.
Yeah.
So he's just like the chalk that will never dry.
Batman, the crash was 10 years ago. You have to move on.
Yeah. No. So when you get inside, we see Joker. He looks good, and he demands the cure, but he looks good. What's going on with that? And Talia turns on him and stabs him. Yes. Revealing that she's been playing 12th dimensional chess. She stole the cure from him to give it to Batman.
Right. But there really are two Jokers. The very ill Joker is up in the balcony, and while Batman is berating Talia for killing, saying, hey, there's always an option. The real sick
could have put him in traction. Like, the option is breaking his neck just below the,
just to immobilize him. Yeah. And so the real Joker, the ill Joker, shoots Talia in the back, killing her. So she's gone. Yeah. And the dead Joker grabs the vial and morphs. Oh shit. It's Clayface.
Mm-hmm. And I actually like the way this twist is handled to the player. Yeah. It never should have tricked Batman.
No.
I don't know.
They do a Saw that they do a Saw movie flashback of all the incredibly obvious clues.
Yeah. Yep.
You fell for the old two Jokers trick, Batman.
He did. I think he did. Yeah, he quite straight up says it.
Yeah.
Again, so then we have a fight with Clayface here. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Doug?
I was gonna say one of the other ones that we glossed over earlier is they show you that video from the Joker is talking to Batman on a TV screen, and in the healthy Joker, and in the background you can hear the real Joker coughing.
Oh yeah.
More clever ones.
There's tons of them.
When he's looking in the safe where Harley stole the cure, you see that there are two Joker cards left as the calling card.
Yeah, they left a pair of Jokers, and both are wild. So yeah, pretty good twist. An okay fight.
Yeah,
with Clayface.
I like Clayface quite a bit as a villain, as a character. I think he's underutilized. Here he's just kind of a big dumb oaf who will attack you. It's a little bit like the Solomon Grundy fight, where a non-physically imposing villain just kind of conscripts another villain to do their dirty work for them. But Clayface is in it because, like, yes, it's the role of a lifetime, because Clayface is an actor, right?
Well, and playing the Joker.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, what, he falling for the Heath Ledger curse.
And the staging of this is cool too. The way they have that like black and white, The Terror movie, like flickering on him as he transforms. I think that's really great.
It's great.
Yeah. Super cool. And the fight's not bad. Like, you have to use your iframes. Like, he does these long sweeping attacks. They have to kind of dodge through, and you're spamming him with ice grenades enough to hurt him so you can come up and punch him harder.
Right.
Use the sword on him.
Yeah, you got to take the sword out of his back and dice him up, trying to reduce his elasticity. Eventually, the floor breaks down. I think Joker blows it, and you actually fall through down to where the Lazarus Pit is. And Joker figures, all right, well, there's no cure, or Batman's got it, so I'm going to go for that. Batman throws a sword and brings down the entire apparatus.
Yeah.
And then Batman drinks half of the cure, saying, okay, I'm gonna have this. Joker pretends that he is begging for help beneath the rubble, and Batman kind of falls for it, thinking, okay, that's where he is. And, we could talk about this in detail, but Joker ends up hurting himself. You think that there's going to be a choice. You think that it's going to set up like, okay, is Batman going to kill him, or is Batman going to allow him to die? Joker almost alludes to that, saying, what about your code? Isn't that the same as murdering me? Well, by getting greedy, Joker dooms himself, because the final joke is Batman would have given him the cure, and then Joker dies laughing.
Yeah. He stabs him, either trying to get it or just not believing in that honorability of Batman.
Right.
Or just, he loves stabbing.
Oh yeah.
It's him doing, and what's funny, Batman actually says it.
Yeah.
Batman's like, what's funny is after all you've done, I would have saved you.
Right.
Which is a little bit of a callback to the really, there's a lot of discourse around the Killing Joke.
Yeah.
And how that's, a damseling and other things like that. And that's all well and good and true. But the ending of it where, Joker tells Batman a joke and they both like kind of laugh at the end of it is a really great ending.
Yeah.
That's a great version of the Joker where he's not laughing all the time. Like, he's often like sad and terrified looking.
Yeah.
I really love that Joker. And the this little bit, this feels like a reference to that, like, what's funny, and them kind of sharing a laugh almost.
Yeah.
I really like that as a final moment with the Jokester.
Yeah, I did as well. And I had the same thought as you, that it was a reference to the Killing Joke, at least in spirit. It was just awesome as a player to just go like, oh, they're going to kill the Joker. That is a cool, bold, dramatic move.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first played this, I was shocked that you just have the Joker dying laughing, over the course of this very long shot. Because what they've been, in the incidental dialogue, what they've been leaning on is, they've been exploring a little bit the fucked up relationship between the Batman and Joker, right? By talking about just, how toxically codependent they are. And here Joker's gone.
Yeah. Yep. You've lost this thing that defines you.
Yeah.
And you very tenderly carry him out of the city.
Yeah. Gordon asks what's happening there. Batman won't answer him. He just keeps on walking.
Yep.
And the credits play, and eventually the credit music turns into the Joker singing "Only You," which is a really good touch.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yes,
super cute. And that's the real ending of the game.
Yes.
This is where the DLC hurts it the most, I think.
Undercuts
is
it.
having this weird little postscript. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Very well, is how I feel about this.
Yeah.
Catwoman has to get her things and get out of Arkham. So she goes to her apartment and a bomb explodes. And a group of thugs surrounds her to beat her up. And you think that this is going to be the end, but she finds out that Two-Face took her stuff.
Yeah.
To the museum, so she goes there to do a Two-Face boss fight, sorta.
Yeah, it's like a Predator section kind of thing, but to do it, you have to get through the museum again. It's not great.
Well, and it's a predator section, but also he has unlimited thugs.
Yeah.
You have to actually go for him. So the way to do it, and it took me a little while because Catwoman's very fragile in this game.
Yeah.
The way to do it is you have to make a commotion, get the thugs to run after you, and then sneak up on Two-Face.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little Easter egg here too. When he's talking about, he's like, whoever gets Catwoman will be my number one guy. does the Joker, Nicholson Joker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or is he alluding to the Hot Chip song?
Oh, I think that's alluding to the Nicholson guy, Nicholson Joker.
Damn it.
As well, based on the video.
I just want more
since it has Hot Chip Joker.
Yeah, more people ought to watch that video. It's a good video and a good song.
It's a great video. Yeah. And then you take him out and then you leave.
Yeah.
And that's the end. And it's really weird. It should not have happened after the credits.
Yeah. He reveals like, oh, I gave away half of it. And basically it ends with a scene between Catwoman and Batman. Batman still has a lot of stuff to clean up here in Arkham City, and Catwoman needs to get the rest of her stuff. So that's why they're both hanging around after the credits.
Which allows you to do all those Riddlers.
Yeah. You can go on to New Game Plus. The main thing in New Game Plus, kind of both modes of it, is it takes away the counter hit indicators.
Mm-hmm.
Which seems very difficult to me.
Yeah. Pretty nasty.
But that is the ending. The Joker is dead.
Mm-hmm. Long live the Joker. Yeah. What are your thoughts on kind of how this wrapped up, Doug?
Just like you said, it's a little weird to have this Catwoman thing tacked on afterwards. And I actually find the fight with Two-Face to be pretty difficult because Catwoman's a little weak physically, so she can't take too many hits, and you have to really be careful to avoid everything to take him out. The other thing that's annoying about it is if you did leave side quests and things unfinished as Batman, you can't get back to being Batman again. You can't like switch off between the characters until you complete this.
Oh.
So that's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit of a to what was otherwise actually a very forceful punch of an ending.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, it's just the Catwoman stuff. Like, there's stuff to do with Catwoman and her relationship with Batman and her kind of place in this world. And the game doesn't do a great job of that in general. You know, it felt like DLC even when it was included.
Yeah.
You know, for those kind of backporting DLCs into a main game, like weirdly, as much as it also has problems with the pace, like the way Human Revolution does that is a little bit stronger, I think, because there's continuity of character. It's not like just like, let's go see what somebody else is doing.
Yeah.
You know, which is a little bit rough. But overall, it's a really satisfying ending. All the stuff before that is really good. Yeah, I like it. It's a great game.
Cool.
Funzo stuff. Any kind of wrap up thoughts? What didn't we cover that is good or bad about this?
We didn't touch on Harley Quinn's revenge. I don't know if you wanted to summarize that.
Oh yeah.
Quick minute, but it's just it's whatever. It's like a couple of days or a week after the main events of this game, and Batman has gone missing. So you as Robin get to infiltrate a new part of the map and try and rescue him. Although you flash back and forth, I think, to both of them. And then you ultimately rescue Robin. You get out of there, and Commissioner Gordon looks over at Robin and is like, is he going to be okay? And he says something like, I don't know. Just sort of setting up that he's going to be in a weird headspace for Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
But the fight with Harley in it is fairly similar to the fight with Two-Face that we just discussed. There's a lot of goons, and you have to kind of get the drop on her and take her out.
Yeah. But I remember my memories of it are pretty vague, and it was that it didn't add a whole lot new to it.
No, it's
like
very
very samey, very more of the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in general, you know, one of the things that this podcast, you know, this is a long episode of the show, but we couldn't cover all of the things, but we mentioned all those Easter eggs, and we kept kind of breaking in and interrupting ourselves to do that. And the reason why is because a lot of the joy of this game is in that detail. You know, like even if you haven't played this before and you think it sounds cool, even though we just told you the plot, I think that the world feels just very lived in and very detailed and complicated in a way that I think you can still get a lot of joy.
Yeah.
Out of it. And the combat system, which we didn't talk about tons just because we've already done the prequel game to this or the previous game, is also like hits this balance, I think, really well between an ultra demanding Souls or Sekiro or Devil May Cry or Bayonetta fight and a old God of War, you know, button mash kind of thing. Like there's such a space for a middle class character action kind of thing, where there's the idea is to not just have the low skill floor of a God of War, but also have a really high skill ceiling as well.
Yeah.
Like as you get through the game, getting really good and getting your combo up. One of the things they do is it's not just a scorekeeping thing in this game. It also allows you to end encounters faster, get more XP, to get more powerful. Like you get a lot of rewards for getting good at the combat system in this, but you never have to be. Like you never have to. If you're not clicking with it, you can just kind of play it as a beat 'em up for the most part.
Yeah.
So really low floor, really high ceiling, which I think is the best thing a designer can really shoot for, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you want to accommodate a really wide array of how much someone wants to bring to the table with that.
Yeah.
The core mechanic of this is so strong. The stuff that you spend the bulk of your time doing in the game just feels so satisfying to do that. Like, as I mentioned, I've been replaying Arkham Knight, and I was thinking to myself, gee, people crap on this game a lot, but why am I having such a good time? And the reason is you're still spending 80 to 90% of Arkham Knight doing the stuff that works just as well in this game as it did in the last one. Like that core chunk of it is fine. That yes, it has some black marks on it that are worth talking about, but it's not nearly as bad as you think, because this part of it is just so much. It's just so much fun to be Batman in this space,
in this engine. Yeah. Well, and also the fact that it doesn't do, that also kind of works against it as well. I think, like it works for it. So every few years, like, it feels really good to do a Batman, right? Like to play in the system, and like, in between there, I'm going to play Middle Earth, and that's going to be Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War, and play as Batman, but with a bow and arrow, and that's really fun. It's more, for me, Arkham Knight, it was a combination of like the bad parts of it, like the fact that I was fighting a lot of armies and soldiers and stuff in a tank, but then also just that like maybe I just reached a saturation point for this. Yeah. So the series will become a thing where like when I feel like playing Batman, I can go back to almost any entry in the series and just replay that one. It can be Night, it can be Origin, it could be this, it could be Shadow of War, and get a lot of that feeling from it. There's like a weird almost agnosticism to games that use this thing, because the base mechanic is really, really fun. It's not a bad thing, but it does mean that there's not a whole lot else to differentiate. I think I ended up it's the Shadow War games aren't exactly the same, but they do have a lot of like there's a little bit more base cleary, but they do have a lot of the same kind of feel to it. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's good. I mean, that system, specifically the combat system, is such a huge contribution to 3D action games. I think it's, you can talk about like, okay, like, is it time to think about something new? But like, it feels like Rocksteady solved a problem.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's not a surprise that Spider-Man iterates on this so much.
Right.
Oh, totally. Yeah. That's the other example I forgot to mention in that. Like Spider-Man's very similar to this in terms of that. Like it is, to my mind, it is the marquee middle class or like middleweight character action system.
Yeah.
If I want something less fiddly than Bayonetta, but more fiddly than Final Fight.
Yeah.
Like,
speaking to the story and kind of the aesthetics and, a little bit fan service in this. So don't misinterpret me when I say this, but I'm not really a Batman fan. Like I can probably count the number of Batman comics, issues that I've read on less than one hand. I don't really engage with DC comic stuff that much. Just not my path. But I've watched enough of the movies, and through cultural osmosis, I know what a lot of these are as just kind of this display and play place for these villains and these ideas and these potent relationships, like the one between the Joker and Batman and Mr. Freeze's role in this. Like, this is incredibly good. This is very fully felt, I think, as an expression of things that are really cool about Batman, pulled from a bunch of different sources, a bunch of different eras, a bunch of like particular stories. It feels like masterful synthesis to me. I feel like I'm getting a lot of Batman for my buck when I go into Arkham City.
Yeah. Well, it's also, it's really hard. I'm sure we talked about this in Asylum, but it's really hard to understate how important the animated series is to kind of that cultural impression of Batman. Like, you don't even really have to read the comics. If you watched some of the animated series, which most people have, of a certain age, and you definitely should, right? Like it's, the best superhero cartoon of all time. you just kind of get this, you just kind of understand it. Like Batman is such an easy to grok concept, you know, much more so than other comics, like much more so than X-Men or even Spider-Man, right? Yeah. Like, you know, having this, like, I protect this city, you know, as a thing, like even that limiting scope, like Batman joins the JLA, but that's easier to ignore than Spider-Man going and joining the Avengers and getting Iron Man tech and shit.
Yeah.
So it's like very easy just to understand Batman. And this game it's such a good intersection of like appealing to the Bat fan and all of us, even when we're not Batman fans.
Yeah.
You know, not to just take your point and restate it, but I think that that's a really good, like, as somebody who has a little bit more time for the Batman comics, like, I think that this, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think if I was going to show somebody a piece of Batman media, it'd be the Batman animated series. But if I was going to show them 2 pieces of Batman media, it'd be that and this.
Yeah. So it was wonderful to get a chance to go back and spend more time in this world and engage with this a little bit more. Thank you so much, Doug.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks, Doug. Batman fun. So yeah, again, thank you for your support, Doug. We really do appreciate it. Is there anywhere on, like, you know, no is an okay answer to this. Is there anywhere online where people can find you? Anything? Do you do that? Do you want people to find you? Are you like the Riddler? Like you're like a regular guy, but easier to catch?
Sure. I have a small online presence, if any, but I am on the Duckfeed Slack. I am there as Jude Law, Jewed, because I'm Jewish and a lawyer. Haha. And then I do a podcast with my wife pretty rarely right now, but called Bundle of Oi, where we talk about parenting stuff. And just to give you an idea of how we've been infrequent about this, we had a baby and still have not recorded an episode about that, which we think merits some attention. But
that's like sweep week. Yeah. That podcast.
Sleep is at a premium. Yes. So we're working on that way. Yeah. But no, you can listen to Bundle of Oi. And I used to do a little podcast that Gary was kind enough to guest on a while back called Quarks and Recreation, where that was just a little fun project I did doing a science podcast with my nephew. So,
which was fun and sweet. So check out that episode. And all the rest of them too, not just the one I'm on. Yeah. But that was fun. Definitely. We really appreciate it, Doug.
Only you can make this world seem right. Only you can make the darkness bright. Only you and you alone can thrill me like you do, and fill my heart with love for only you. Only you.
So thank you, Doug. Again, we just let him go because we don't. I feel self-conscious shilling.
Yeah.
While somebody else is on mic, that's just the case.
Yep.
But we really do appreciate Doug.
Yes.
Very much.
Yeah.
Doug was able to guest on the episode and dictate this because he is a patron. If you go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, you can also do so. We have some guest episodes and other dictated episodes coming up. Some of the stuff that we have coming up that I'm most excited about were patron suggestions, and people have been killing it with those.
Yes, they have. So consider going to patreon.com/DuckFeedTV and supporting us. The support recently, since we did the redesign, has been amazing. Sorry, I'm distracted. There's a yellow finch on the feeder outside my office window.
Oh, there's a bird.
Yeah, there's a bird, which needs to stop. Which needs to stop everything. Yeah. Sorry, no, it's the first customer my Niger seed bag has gotten. It's a little yellow finch. Look at it go. If you have thoughts about any of the games that we play this month, Life is Strange, Batman Arkham City, or coming up, Hitman 2016. The deadline for that is the 15th of this month. So if you're listening to it on early release, you have a little bit of time. If you're hearing this on regular release, the public feed, it is too late. However, it's not too late to write in about next month's games.
Yep, which is Puzzle Month, which is going to be the 7th guest / the 11th hour. In one episode, we're doing 2 in that because the puzzles are pretty stock standard in that, but the story and narrative and the story behind those games is really interesting.
Yeah.
Then we were doing Into the Breach. Extremely excited about that. My game of the year last year.
Yeah.
And then after that, we are doing Tetris.
The golden age of Tetris is what we're calling that. Yeah.
Multiple Tetrises, infinite Tetrises on Infinite Earth.
Yes.
And then for patrons that month, usually we have a patron premium episode. The next episode on Hitman is patron premium. For next month, we're actually doing a full bonus episode because it wouldn't make sense to cut any of those episodes we talked about in half.
Yep.
So we're doing an episode on the Adventures of Lolo, which is available on the Nintendo Online service on your Switch.
Yep.
And it still holds up really well.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm like about halfway through Lolo. It's very fun.
I really wish that music, it is a good loop. I wish there was more of it.
I'm more into just it staying forever.
Yeah.
Just those two. Yep. No bridges, no choruses, no nothing. Just that. Oh yeah, just that over and over. I just need that. Give me that loop. The shortest. Yeah, it's probably the shortest best loop. It's not the best loop, but it's for one that's short.
Yeah.
It might be the best one.
It is the
It's shorter than the Bubble Wobble one. Like, the Bubble Wobble one has a chorus.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it is the intersection of two very specific lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I switched to listening to podcasts while doing it fairly fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have anything to say about those things, hit us up at duckfeed.tv/contact. We will be doing after this month's response episode, our dispatch episode, we will announce what we have going on the next month, which is also good. Like we have the whole year planned out and it's all interesting, exciting stuff.
Yeah. No.
So ratings and reviews.
Please do. We've gotten some nice ratings and reviews recently. We want to keep that going.
It's very helpful. And if you listen to this, if you're listening to this as a patron or not, check out the other shows we have on the network as well.
Please do.
We don't do a lot to promote those. We just we get into a habit where we assume everybody knows them. Not everybody knows them.
Yeah.
So, if you're a patron, check out Bonfireside Chat, even if you're not normally a Souls guy.
Yeah.
You might dig it. Unfilmable, our show about Lovecraft screen adaptations, is getting a good response. That's at the $5 level. Off the Patreon, we have The Level, which is a video game talk show. Yeah. More or less, that the Cole hosts with some buddies.
Roundtable kind of thing. Also, there is Days of Future Cast, which is a show that started out being about the X-Men animated series, but is more broadly about animated Marvel properties that Gary does with Jeremy Greer.
Yep, friend of the network and host of the network and friend in general, Jeremy Greer. And that is where we did that episode on the Spider-Man video game. So it is kind of like a miniature Watch Out for Fireballs. So if you like this show, you'll probably like that. Yeah. As well. And a bunch of other shows. We have information on our website about that. And we'd love it if you checked out some stuff.
Please do.
That's probably about it.
I think that's about it. The Finch has moved off the bag and he's over on the big feeder. He's eating like a big boy.
That's the signal.
I hope a Robin doesn't come and bully it out.
Yeah. Yep, tying it back in. or a Batman doesn't come and bully it out and eat the seed.
That'd be really weird at 4 p.m.
Yeah, I bet you Batman eats bird seeds. You know?
He's a weirdo.
Rotting bananas and bird seeds. You know? To think like a bat, I have to eat like a bat.
I need to poop like a bat just on a cave floor.
He's just pooping all over the cave floor, and like everyone just deals with it because if they don't, he'll break their fucking trachea. Until next time, what should they watch out for?
Watch out for this yellow finch because he's just going. He's going, Gary.
I believe it. I don't have your bird disease, so I'm like less impressed by a finch.